Hello and welcome back to the Leafs Line podcast. Usually on a normal situation, we'll have my boy over there, Mario, running the show hosting, but we're trying to shake it up a little. We're trying to try something new, and I've been appointed the honorary trial host, so we're kind of going to see how it goes. This isn't something I've ever done before. Don't really have a lot of experience, but you have to start somewhere. It's the first opportunity trying to host, and we're kind of see how it goes. Yeah, I'm going to be admittedly a little bit nervous, but we're going to see how this thing goes. So, just to start it up, keep it casual, keep it chill. One thing I did today, usually the past few days, I've literally been sleeping in and staying in my bed until maybe 5 o'clock in the evening because I've had no reason to do anything or get out of bed. But today, Mama Rhodey, she did something. She gave me an excuse to get out of bed. She's like, you know what? Let's go for a grocery shop. Let's get some things. So she walked into my room at a normal time, 10 o'clock. I was dead tired. I was exhausted. He's like, Jared, go shower, get the fuck out of bed. We are going out. So I got up, I showered, went out. We did some, I don't celebrate Christmas. We did some shopping. We got some groceries. I got a birthday present and we had a great day. So I want to ask you fellas over here, what are you guys getting for the holidays?
Ramoli, this is up for you, man. You had a struggle today. You had a struggle.
Oh, did I have a fucking struggle? I was there. I actually met up with a friend. She helped me out because she's obviously good at shopping. So I went to Vaughan Mills. I'm near that area. I don't know if anyone in the GTA who's listening knows where that is, but it is a nice mall. And so I can't be talking too loud because they're still in my house, but I work at Pro Hockey Life. So I get me a nice little discount. So my dad's gift was from there. And part of my sister's gift. I don't know. She's like literally right there. So I should probably not say it too loud. It's from there. And then for my mom, on the other hand, that was a struggle. I don't know about you guys, but
it's hitting a brick wall, man.
Yeah,
you got nowhere to go.
Nowhere. Cause she's a mother. What are mothers interested in?
You never know. It's an anomaly. Evan, you hit the nail on the head with the massage, man. Grade A. Yeah. Hope she's not watching. I don't want to spoil this, but
no, my mom already went. My mom went last week to get hers because it was for Hanukkah, so it's a little bit earlier, obviously. Okay. So she got hers because it's right down the street.
No, man, that is.
And she loves that place, so I was like, why not spend a little extra, make her happy?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna spoil what I got because I don't know if my parents watch this or don't know if they're gonna click on this one, but it was not what I had in mind. I was thinking I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna get her some clothes for work. My mom. She's like a hybrid model the way she works. She's at home and she's into the office some days. I didn't go that route. I went so much more basic. I'm a little disappointed, but it you know what? Sometimes you got to do it.
Jared, man, I gotta ask. You sent a picture in the chat before you hopped on today. That I don't know. Is that a poncho or what are we rocking? Because that was great.
They call it a comfy. It's a blanket, but it also has a hood attached to it, and it has sleeves on it. Yeah. It's awesome. So I got one for my girlfriend Jory, and I'm like, you know what? I got one for her. I'm gonna give it to her on Friday. Actually, we have a dinner. So I'm going to her family dinner. Gonna meet I've met her parents, but I'm gonna meet the grandma, and I'm gonna meet all that. So I got a present for her. I'm not going to give her the link on this one. I'm not going to let her listen to it, but I got her a comfy. It's this blanket hoodie thing. I got her just a blanket because thing with her, she is always freezing cold. I don't know why. It can be boiling. I'm sitting there sweating. And she's like, are you cold? I'm like, no, your room's a sauna, but she's always freezing. So I got her this warm blanket thing. And then I got her an actual blanket. I got her slippers, whatever. So I got one of those things for her. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't we be a little cute? We get matching ones. So I got a matching thing for me to wear. And it is so comfortable. I was just sitting there earlier, getting things prepared. I was chilling on my desk. I took it off to put a jersey on. But earlier I was chilling in my desk. I sent a picture to the chat. Me sitting there with this massive fat hoodie thingy. It is so comfortable though. I love it. I also got fun fact, I got a new book today. I got the Steve Dangle book, which I am a big Steve Dangle fan. If you've been watching, I constantly reference him, constantly reference stuff they talk about on the podcast. Not a huge reader, but I have free time. I need an excuse to do something because otherwise I will literally sit in my bed all day. So I kind of need an excuse to do something, whether I'm getting up to play NHL or now I'm going to have something to do in bed, sit there reading a book. So yeah, I got the Steve Dangle book. I got that thing. They call it the Comfy. Not a sponsored podcast.
No free ads. No free ads.
That thing's pretty comfortable.
You're cutting that out, Mario.
I will.
Honestly, like,
I'd definitely recommend
those books, like Steve Dangle, doesn't feel like a book as more as it feels like a conversation that you're like reading. Like,
oh, yeah, I'm sure. Like
if you read the Brian Burke book, like I read it.
I actually want to.
And it's literally just like if you're talking to Brian Burke, but like you just have to like flip the page. Like his story, like he remembers everything and anything about like when he was an agent and then going to GM and working with who's the famous general manager who passed away, Vancouver?
Is it Pat Quinn?
Pat Quinn.
Pat Quinn. Yeah,
Pat Quinn's coach.
Yeah, like he told stories about Pat Quinn and all that. It was awesome.
Yeah.
No,
I definitely want to actually read that book.
Yeah,
it's a really good book.
Even the Steve Dangle book, I read it when it not when it came out, but maybe a couple months after it came out. I was hunting that thing down, and like I'm like you, Jared. You know, I don't read books. The hell, I see you have a nice little bookshelf behind you. Don't know how many books you've read, all 0 of them.
It's like Diary of a Wimpy Kid and all the classics. It's not like Mozart.
Dude, he doesn't have like Schindler's List in there. It's like
it's Diary of a Wimpy Kid, some nerds, some like books I read when I was maybe in grade 4, grade 5.
Oh, Diary of a Wimpy Kids were the best, man. I used to have
apparently
all
a new
of them,
copy came out. Like I went to the bookstore, Amazon bookstore, and there's like new copies still coming out of that book.
Of what?
I'm like, nope. Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Oh,
yeah.
You know what I forgot to mention? You know the guy that plays Greg Heffley?
Where's that guy
the
now?
kid?
He was my counselor at camp one year.
Oh, that's awesome. I love those movies.
Yeah,
he was a new one.
Yeah, he was my counselor. I was like, what the fuck is L? Like, what is going on?
Craig.
And it was a Jewish summer camp. I'm like, how the fuck do you end up here?
He was Jewish.
That's where the road.
Yeah, I was actually just on Disney Plus the other day, and I'm like, oh, they did a new like animated Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I'm like, I haven't watched it yet, but that's awesome. I want to check that out. I love those books.
Yeah, that was the book for the projects that you had to do growing up.
Oh man, our teachers would never let us. They'd never let us use Diary of a Wimpy Kid because they know every kid. Like once like November Scholastic came out, everyone's fucking darting the shelves for the new Diary of a Wimpy Kid book.
Yeah, they didn't let us use those. I had to read The Hunger Games, which was a brutal read.
You didn't like The Hunger Games?
I've never read
that.
No,
that's
okay. Here's the thing. When I got the book, I didn't know anything about it, so I didn't realize it was a book series. So I like randomly grabbed the 3rd book, and my teacher was like,
I did that too.
She's like, yo, you're forgetting like the 2 other books. And I was like, fuck, like now I got to read all of them to know what's going on. So like for a whole project, I did like a page summary on each book. And it was like, I liked it, but like I wasn't into it. Like I accidentally read it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I read it at the time where everything Hunger Games was like the thing. I think that was like 2014, 15. I don't know.
Yeah, that's when I did the project.
Yeah,
it was in 6th grade or something like that. Like,
no, it was. I thought the book was terrific. I think that the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series is getting absolutely milked right now. Like they had their golden years when we were younger. Now it's just.
I'm saying like a new book came out, but I think it should have stopped.
I thought you meant Prince.
No.
What's it called? How many are they at now?
You're at a ridiculous number. Like,
you guys want to do some trivia?
Like it was relevant for our age, and then they're just kind of keeping it going.
It was relevant before us, man.
Yeah. Like I don't mean to sound like an ass, but I feel like these last few books, like I sometimes like scan through them. Like it just seems like the guy's running out of ideas, but it's like it's still making money.
You guys want to take a guess at when the first one came out?
I want to say 2007.
Oh, he fucking hit it right on the head. 2007.
Is this a hint to what's happening after in our trivia segment? Because you definitely need it. You need the boost. Maybe you can.
I need to get points for that.
I came up clutch. I came up clutch last week.
There's a hockey stick on the new one. It's like a sports book.
Yeah, it's a sports one. It's like a white cover, right?
Yeah, number 16, The Big Shot.
Evan would be like caught up on his Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
No, I literally just like went into the Amazon bookstore, and it was like the first thing I saw when I walked in, and my mom and I were like, when the fuck did this come out? And like
walked in?
Like there's Amazon bookstores.
Like physically?
Yeah, like at our shopping mall, there's like an Amazon bookstore, and right when you walk in, the first thing you see is Diary of a Wimpy Kid new book. And my mom and I were like, did this come out like this year? And yeah, you check the copyright and it says 2021. Yeah. And I was like, how the fuck do they still come up with this?
I don't know. How's that kid never grow up?
Well, I didn't like when they changed all the actors because everyone got too old.
That's when it went down.
That's when they should have just gassed it, because that was a horrible movie.
Yeah, they're
I did not watch the movie.
Dude, like the brother turned Asian. Like, I'm not trying to be racist, but like they hired an Asian.
At least make a similar actor. Like it's so I know
same race. Like, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but like, get someone.
No, you're
who,
onto something.
Like,
onto
actually resembles him.
No, I know ratings wise that new one did horrible. Like,
Really?
so basically they had the first 3 ones, which were all the same actors. It was awesome. It was just Diary of a Wimpy Kid. They had Dog Days and Roger Gruels, which Roger Gruels
is like elite.
No, but Roger Gruels,
instant
I thought
classic,
that was
man.
the one that they switched the actors.
No, that was the long haul.
The 4th one. Yeah, the long haul. They made it all a new cast and it did horrible. And now they just released. They basically remade the first movie. But
in
with
animation.
like hand-drawn animations, it actually looks pretty cool. I'm gonna check it out.
The problem is that
an hour.
The movies never matched with the books. Like, there would be 3 new books that came out before like the movie of the book you're relating to came out. Like, it was so weird. I don't know. It was like a interesting series, but the guy's making money, so zero complaints.
What's your guys' goat Diary of a Wimpy Kid?
I don't even remember. What was the green copy? Like,
that was oh man,
there was the last straw. There was
the last. I think
was it the last straw?
Dude, I don't remember. I honestly love the
look it up, man.
Maybe even Roger Gruels. I think Roger had to be one
movie
of my
wise. I say Roger Gruels.
I want a book. Did you guys read all the books?
I did, but like I
up into a point.
Yeah, obviously.
I think.
Dude, I read the books, but like I obviously like that was 8 years ago. I don't remember.
Dog Days is a classic.
Yeah,
Cabin Fever is a classic.
How do you remember these? What the fuck?
Yeah, man.
I have them all back there.
I got them all here too. I think I stopped at Hard Luck, which is number 8.
That's where I stopped. Yep.
And then they
Cabin
on.
Fever.
What was the one third wheel? When would that come up before or after?
Right after Cabin Fever.
Yeah, that was the last one I read.
Maybe that was the last one I read. Well, can you see the year publicized or no?
It's not up, but they go like once every year, so I can go 2007.
True, that's
8,
true.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 2013. No way.
I stopped in 2014 because I
think that was Hard Luck.
Yeah, I stopped whenever I got to middle school because then the teachers were like, "Yeah, none of that crap here."
Yeah, like you kind of look like a dork if you're still reading them at like.
Yeah, Jared.
You know? Although I do kind of want to read. I kind of want to read the new one now. It's like a sports one.
Yeah.
That's like a Leafs line read aloud.
Leafs line
just like
schedule
episode 1, and it's just like a quiet like read aloud.
Would Evan be suited for the reader?
Kid. The sports book.
Do you sign each other like characters?
Boys.
I'm down. We got on for like a 5-hour podcast, just us reading the whole book. It's chapter 5. Like I'm British all of a sudden.
British accent.
you could change whatever you want, customize it, make Jared do all these kind of accents from all over the world.
I like gel my hair up like Greg. Like to get his little strands.
Oh man, it sucks they're running out of colors too. These are some ugly looking books now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This dude like picked the rainbow, and now he's like, "What the fuck do I do?"
Yeah, what now? Holy crap! Like there's 3 blue books or red ones.
That's what I'm
2
saying.
purples.
Like, I feel like at some point you just got to gas it, man. Like, you had a good run.
Yeah,
But rip to all the current elementary school kids that won't experience the same greatness.
How many people at those schools would take that book home and never bring it back? Like I can guarantee you go to one of those schools that had them, they're not even there.
Yeah, but then you get hit with the library fine, and then it's like $30, and your parents are like, "Yo, Evan, what happened here?"
Some didn't care. Some really didn't care. Like I remember,
my library was cheap as fuck. They would hit you with a fat fine. Like even if it was a week, they'd be like, "It's $5." I'm like, buddy, like I have the book. It's not like my dog peed on it. Like it's here.
Did you guys ever have like library time where they would like force you to take out a book and never like I never read them. Like here's all the new books. This one's a storybook. I'd grab it and fucking shove it in my desk for the week until the next Friday when we went. I don't know if you guys did that too.
The current generation just puts the phone in between the book now.
Oh man,
ridiculous.
Oh. You just have to do a reading log though. It's called raw books, like read at home, and it was literally we had to do a whole log of I read this many pages tonight. This is my summary. Like they found a way to like find.
That's an awesome title for it. Raw books is an awesome title though. Oh man. All right, do we Jared,
Jared, man. I don't know. Let's see how good this segue is.
You're the host.
I'm hosting. It's hosting time. Okay. We're talking all about some great books, but now it's time to talk about some great players in the National Hockey League.
You know what? You're a rookie. You're a rookie.
Hey, rookie, man.
Not quite Mario, but we're getting there. Okay,
Yeah.
you know what? We're gonna move over to
No,
something.
we
Okay,
approve.
so
we approve.
okay, so a big topic we've heard all over. It's been on Twitter. It's been talked about on Sportsnet, TSN, all the big channels. Is this big debate between? Okay, it's pretty set. Connor McDavid is the best player in the NHL. There's no argument.
No
there.
question.
But after that, there's some superstar players that are kind of in the conversation. I think I'd give Nathan McKinnon second best player in the league. But after that, there's players within that 3 to 5 range. And the two big ones, Austin Matthews on the Toronto Maple Leafs. So no, this isn't a Matthews jersey, but close. Obviously, we're a Leafs podcast, Austin Matthews. And then Mr. Edmonton Oilers, Leon Draisaitl. So there's a big debate there. We're obviously going to get into our opinions. But the big debate, it's been all over the internet right now, is who do you think is a better player? There's a lot of different factors to consider because ultimately they are, as much as they're both forwards, they are, oh, sorry, that's my garage. Unfortunately, they are very different players. So it's a big debate. There isn't exactly a wrong answer because, again, both of them are superstars. You can't go wrong. But a big question is, if you're starting off your franchise, who are you starting with? And I guess we're going to start off with Evan here. What are your opinions on that?
Well, I mean, I said it before. Like, look, I saw like Mario, like with our outline sheet, like put up like the players' stats in the playoffs. And honest to God, Mario, I love it. I don't really care about that because it hasn't succeeded to anything. Like both players haven't made it out of the first round, and both players have although the numbers look great, like the impact just isn't there come playoff time. So I don't really look at those numbers, but when I'm looking at the two players, obviously Austin Matthews, he hasn't scored less than 30 goals since entering the NHL, which is just incredible to think. And that just comes with being consistent. And although he isn't healthy at times, when he is healthy, he's still putting the puck in the back of the net, which is great. The reason why I gave Leon Draisaitl the edge is because I really think his hockey IQ in the offensive zone is greater than Austin Matthews in the offensive zone. But I do think Matthews is better defensively. But in terms of offense, and I think that's what GMs are striving for, especially with your top forwards, that's what you want. And look, although Draisaitl could score 40 goals in a season, he can also put up 60 assists, which is just incredible to think of. And I know he has Connor McDavid there, who sure as hell helps him out, but still the passes that he makes in order to get Connor McDavid the puck, or Zach Hyman or Nugent Hopkins and the whole Edmonton Oilers, it's second to none. It's very hard to defend against. He makes defenders look stupid. And I just think if I'm starting my franchise, and especially as like a center and left winger, he could play both and is just so offensively dynamic. I think that's who I want to start my franchise with. And I mean, they're both still incredibly young players. The one issue I have with both of them is just success in the playoffs, because look, I mean, like, I don't need to, like, they both haven't made it out of the first round, and the Edmonton Oilers recently just got swept by the Winnipeg Jets. And in that series, I believe the Oilers scored more than 3 goals once, I want to say, in those 4 games, and they were very limited to opportunities. But I just think overall, I would give the edge to Draisaitl, because I think defensive ability, like we're seeing with Connor McDavid now, it seems like he's slowly picking up his defensive ability. And I think you could easily instill that, or not easily, but it would be easier to instill that into Leon Draisaitl than like a passing ability like his.
How much does 97 make a difference?
I don't think it makes look, it makes a difference, but when you look at the plays that Leon Draisaitl is making, like, it's not like he's passing it in his own, like in the defensive zone, and then getting the assist because McDavid carried the puck through 17 defenders like he always does. Like, when you look at the passes, and sometimes they are the secondary assists, but it's that pass that makes it so much easier for that player to score. And if you look at Zach Hyman's first, like, I'll take it all the way back to his first power play goal in Edmonton, it's a pass across from McDavid to Draisaitl, and Draisaitl makes the most beautiful saucer pass, and it allows Zach Hyman to have an empty net. So I think, like, obviously he helps because he's just as good as Draisaitl, if not better. But it's not like his only assists come from Connor McDavid goals. Like, he finds other ways to get guys involved.
I mean, personally for me, and I don't know how you guys are going to evaluate, but I think when you're comparing Leon Draisaitl to Connor McDavid, this is probably, I mean, we're in light of the Edmonton Oilers, I mean, the Leafs beating the Edmonton Oilers. So obviously we're going to be talking about this extensively. It's been talked about extensively throughout the last 24 hours, but this debate, I can't use numbers, man. Adam, I don't know about you. You're a numbers guy, and I'm sure when we get over to you, you're going to
I'm actually not going to
some...
use numbers. I probably won't.
Okay. So the reason why I can't use numbers is because how are you supposed to judge this? This goes pound for pound, player for player. You're not going to judge whoever gets more points in the playoffs, like you mentioned. It usually means nothing, considering these guys have not had to lift or hoist any of that silver thing, as Jared put it a couple days ago. But no, I don't think numbers matter, because you're looking at the guy beside him, what he's producing with. I think you've got to look at just from the eye, who is the better player? Who do you not enjoy watching more? Because a little bit of a bias would be thrown in there, but who just looks to be the better player. And I don't know. I think for me, I have to go Austin Matthews. It's just no bias there. And again, both terrific players. And I think we're going to say that a bunch in this segment, but I don't know. Matthews, his shot is second to none, probably the top in the league, in my opinion. I think Ovi has a terrific shot. He's going to go down as the best goal scorer of all time. I hope he beats Gretzky's record. So I've grown up and seen a guy like this shatter that record, one of the unbeatable records that we thought we'd never see get shattered. But I don't know, Ovi scores a lot from one spot. Matthews is a lot more versatile, and I think Matthews is a lot more versatile in more ways than Leon Draisaitl. That's my take on it. I don't know, what do you guys think as well? Because this is a very interesting debate, and again, you can go any side you want.
I think I'm going to take the side of, I know. Okay, so I said last night in our group chat, I said this season it's Leon Draisaitl, and spoiler alert, I think Leon Draisaitl is the MVP of this season so far. Yeah, more than Connor McDavid, even though they have the same amount of points. But last season, I think Matthews is better than Draisaitl. So it's really difficult to say, but just based off what I watch, I think Matthews is a lot easier to watch than Leon Draisaitl, because he's definitely I think undeniably he's a better stick handler, more flashy player, probably faster, obviously the better shot, the more sexy shot. The guy takes like a toe dragger shot like it's nothing, but just as a kind of John Tavares-esque, but a little bit more flashy. I'm gonna go with Leon Draisaitl just because when evaluating a forward, playing really good defense is obviously an asset, but it's not a necessity. Evan puts little clappy things. It's not a necessity to play really good defense. It's a necessity to not be bad at defense. And that's what Leon Draisaitl is this year. I don't think Leon Draisaitl's in the past, he has been a bottom 5 defensive player, and that has hindered him. But if he could play even just below average defense, which is what he's doing now, while being such a dual threat where he's just throwing backhand sauces crossed ice, or just like sneakily sniping one short side and finishing the game with like a quiet 3 points, I think I'll take Draisaitl as a better player. But to start a franchise with, I'm going to take Austin Matthews.
I think because
he's flashy. Yeah, exactly. You don't always like. It sounds dumb.
Starting a franchise and evaluating the value of a player, I think are two.
Exactly.
I think they contrast each other so extensively.
I think I'd rather start a franchise with I'd rather start a franchise with the third best center versus the best winger in the league, and that's just because, position evaluation. But like starting a franchise too, you got to consider like other things too, like who's the more marketable face. It's Austin Matthews. Who's the flashier player? Austin Matthews. The younger player, Austin Matthews. Right.
I think the market standpoint is because he's in Toronto. Like, I guarantee if Leon Draisaitl was in Toronto.
No way. No way. Come on. Austin Matthews
likes to be an outgoing
he's fucking Showtime.
Well, he dresses
he's Showtime. More than Draisaitl, I think that's 100%.
Well, yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, Draisaitl is like the more quiet kept, just hockey.
Although he will in the Edmonton media.
He's awesome, man.
He's kind of funny sometimes. Like you'll give him like a snide comment, but he's no Austin Matthews, right? Like,
yeah.
Come on.
Well, he's living in the limelight of Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid's supposed to be that Austin Matthews answering those questions. Matthews is all alone up there.
Connor McDavid sucks in front of the camera. Have you guys seen?
He's improved. He's improved. When he started, he was garbage.
Look, I think it's hard. No, but I think it's hard because the camera's been around him since he was so young that sometimes it's almost just it's still daunting. Like that the cameras are constantly on you. And maybe I want to reverse this. McDavid seems like the guy who's I just want to play hockey. I'll get my endorsement deals. But this wouldn't surprise me if after retirement he didn't like join the GM's office or like didn't read. Like, I just don't see him. I see him as the guy that like makes his money and then goes into retirement and never wants
kind
to
of like Sidney Crosby. Like, we're gonna in the next 5 years, I'd say maybe not 5, in the next decade, we are never gonna hear from Sidney Crosby ever again. That guy's poof. He's gone. He's going back to Cole Harbor.
He's so quiet.
Like, he's out of here, man. There's
Cole
no
Harbor's
way.
perfect for him.
Oh, it's so perfect. There's like shit. Send him like to Saskatchewan. There's like literally nothing there. I don't know if have you guys seen the Connor McDavid the house tour with his wife?
Yeah. His house is elite. Did you hear his interview yesterday about the driveway incident?
Yes, heated driveway. People are mad at him for that.
He's a heated driveway.
You can't get mad at him. Like, that's what he's got.
It's so dumb. People were mad at him for that. People are like, "Oh, this rich guy has a heated driveway." Let the guy have his heated driveway. He's the best player in the world.
If he makes $12.5 million,
like, let him have his heated driveway.
I bet he doesn't want to be slipping on the snow.
Yeah. What if he slips, gets hurt, hurts his hip, and he's out for?
Then what are Oilers fans gonna say?
Yeah. What are you gonna say now?
We've all
should have gotten a heated driveway.
Shoveling snow. That is my least favorite thing to do. I don't know if we're going off topic, but holy fuck. Whoever created snow like deserves the death penalty. It is awful. I hate it. I hate it so much.
Yeah, ODR, man. Come on.
That's ice. That's not snow. Well, fuck snow.
How do you get the ice? With the snow a little bit, no?
No. Oh. Just water.
Not really. I don't think that's the science behind it.
Yeah, I'm cold to cold. Like, you know what, the snow is pretty, like around the ODR, like at Valora. I love seeing like the little bank of snow like that goes around the ice. Yeah, that's cute. But like shoveling it, walking in it,
skating in it,
even worse. Oh my god.
Jared, let's throw it to you, man. You're the only one who hasn't given the haul in your debate here. So buddy, what do you got? Who's number one? McDavid? Sorry, not McDavid. He is clearly number one, but who's the number one in this sense of players, Draisaitl or Matthews?
Well, okay, trying to be as unbiased as possible. Of course, I'm a Leafs fan. Like, you know what my answer is going to be, but I'm trying to say it in a way that's as unbiased as possible. I think for the reasons that Adamo began to sort of list off, as much as he listed those things off and then changed his answer to say the answer is Draisaitl, I do think those factors, the fact that Matthews is a faster skater, the fact that he has a better shot, the fact that he's a better stick handler and is a quicker and more flashy player. And as much as, yes, it isn't a necessity for a forward to be good defensively, I do think the fact that Matthews is a better defensive forward is another checklist that I would use to prove that Austin Matthews is the better player. It's very much, it's neck and neck. You can't go wrong with any. If you're starting a franchise and these are your two guys, your franchise is in pretty good shape because you're going to end up with a superstar player. Leon Draisaitl, as Evan began to mention, is there's pretty much no one in the league that passes the way he does. He's a superstar in every sense of the word. I love Leon Draisaitl, but as well, a lot of his points do come off the power play. That is when he's playing with Connor McDavid a lot. So that is something that you do have to consider ultimately. It's very much not something I'm heated about. It's not a criticism. It's not you're wrong for saying Leon Draisaitl. I think there's a very valid argument there. And the points, as much as, yes, you can't purely make your argument based on that, Leon Draisaitl does right now, is leading in the point race. And over the past few past few years, Leon Draisaitl has actually a lot more points than Austin Matthews does. But I do think you just have to consider the ways that they play, where one's maybe a more quiet, John Tavares-esque player, as Adamo was mentioning, and the other is a lot more flashy. He's more fun. He's more exciting to watch. And he snipes the puck like it's nobody's business. And I think for that reason, Austin Matthews is the player that I'm saying is better. I'd put him slightly above. It's probably my ranking in the league. It goes Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon. I think I would now put Austin Matthews as the third best player in the league, and probably Leon Draisaitl at fourth. Like, it's pretty close. You can't go wrong with a player like Draisaitl. I just think there's too many check boxes that Austin Matthews is better in when comparing to Draisaitl, that it's hard for me to argue that Draisaitl's better. I think for the better shot, the faster skater, the stick handling, all of that, I think in my mind, it's very hard to argue against Austin Matthews in this. I don't think it's something that on Twitter should be getting as heated as it is, because I think at a point you have to step back and say, both are superstars. Why do we care? Like, I think it's very much something like...
Yeah, like, just be thankful that you have one of them.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's very much something that the media kind of... Maybe they're trying to distract from all the harder, more serious news that was going on. I don't know. Maybe they just need kind of a lighthearted story to put out there. And that's why they started, hey, why don't we stir the shit with some of this stuff? Because it very much isn't a topic that I think people should care as much. Of course, it's a fun discussion, and that's why I'm happy to have it on the podcast. But it's very much not something I think anyone should be super heated about. I think both are superstar players. Both definitely have factors that are better in. But in my mind, I just think if you're making a checklist, I think there's too many areas Matthews is the better player in that make it hard to argue for Draisaitl. That's my opinion. That's in my mind. Sure, you could say there's a little bit of bias there just because I am a Leafs fan. I get to watch Austin Matthews a lot more than Draisaitl. But for a lot of reasons, I think Matthews just is slightly better, and I'd put him at third overall in the league. But Draisaitl isn't far behind. He's a superstar. He passes like no one else. He's starting to score now. And yeah, you can't argue against Leon Draisaitl, but just Matthews is a superstar, and I am putting him slightly above.
And it's all depending on who you ask. Like, this is a pretty, like, we're going to have this conversation, obviously, because we're have a podcast. We can make it a little bit more, we're more flexible. But if I'm hearing people on radio talk about this with the little amount of time they have on air, it's pretty silly because you can only go so in depth. Like, I've seen people with the other criterias. I've seen people on Twitter evaluate who's better based on their Chell rankings. Who's got the better X factor? Who's got the better ratings in this, and this? Like, Jesus Christ! Like, I don't know how you put a specific one. I think it just depends on who you ask. Like, Oilers fans are gonna definitely say Leon Draisaitl. They watch him more, and they don't see as much of Austin Matthews. They just think the guy down east in Toronto is just pumping goals. That's about it. But I don't know. It's who you rather have on your team, and I guess the house is divided today. 2 guys Draisaitl, 2 guys Austin Matthews. And let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I would love to hear the debate between Austin Matthews and Leon Draisaitl. Definitely one to have at your dinner table for sure. But another thing that we can discuss even more extensively and even more in depth would be these Toronto Maple Leafs and these Edmonton Oilers, 2 teams that hit each other last night. The Toronto Maple Leafs coming out on top 5-1 is your final. They improved to 9-0-1 in their last 10 games at Rogers Place with last night's victory. And again, successful in shutting down that dynamic duo that we were just talking about, McDavid and Draisaitl. They go pointless, and what appears to be the millionth time against the Maple Leafs that they go pointless, because in Edmonton the Leafs thrive, and those guys failing to get on the goal sheet is just another victory of its own. Now, I want to ask you guys this question. And Jared, I know you were hosting this. We will just go back and forth, man, because I think you were quite terrific to start us off. I'll keep on pulling the boat as far as I can, but we'll keep it going. Don't you worry. You did fine. It's not a fail. You're good. But again, last night we saw a little bit more of the Leafs' worst side, I think, because they didn't play a full 60 minutes. They were outplayed a majority of that game. A lot of people I'm hearing on the radio this morning and late last night, Edmonton didn't finish on the abundance of chances they had. I think Campbell steered aside 35 of 36. Great performance from him. He bailed the Leafs out big time. But I don't know, man. Like, the Leafs did get outplayed a lot in that game, and like Edmonton's 6 losses in a row, a lot of these ones are like that one game, the game that they couldn't capitalize on the chances. And again, that's nothing against the Maple Leafs. Jack Campbell shut the door when he had to. The Edmonton Oilers just couldn't finish, and they are losers of 15. They've allowed the first goal in 15 of their last 20 games in the first period, the first goal of the game. And it's just like, for the Leafs, these playoff problems are just biting them again. Jared, we were discussing this on Saturday. For context for the listeners who do not know, and I don't think you would know, we all went out for dinner, Evan excluded because we don't like him, of course. He just has to sit at home in his LA, beautiful palm trees, all that stuff, going to Amazon bookstores like it's no tomorrow.
Sitting poolside.
Yeah, sitting poolside.
I was thinking about doing that, but it's windy out, so
it's windy out. Yeah. No, but
it actually was colder. It was 39 degrees this morning here. It's a little cold.
Translate in English, please.
Okay, it was like, I don't know. So what? It was like two or three.
Really?
2?
Dude, it was
warmer here, man.
Well, like that was like at around like 7 a.m. like my time. So like it was chilly, man. But now it's like global warming woke up again.
It was like 17 the other day. I was working for the Rams at their community skate, and there was no skate because it was a pool. Like there was no skate.
Yeah,
it sucked. 18 degrees. It went up to 22 by the time I got home. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the ODR season is getting pushed back greatly right now. But again, I wanted to steer it aside to the Toronto Maple Leafs here. I mean, Does this win for the Maple Leafs? Obviously, it'll speak much more greater for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but is it better for the Leafs to talk about, or is it worse for the Edmonton Oilers? Because they're losing a 6th straight. And again, just so many problems going on with their organization, both internally and externally. COVID's kind of wreaking havoc through the West Coast and through the Edmonton Oilers. I know Dave Tippett was absent from the game, so he didn't get to coach his team. You can argue as much as you want how much that plays a role in their loss. But again, these chances that they're unable to capitalize, this game speak more volumes on the Edmonton Oilers, the Toronto Maple Leafs' success to win that game. Jared, I'll start with you, and I think we'll just, pick at it on our own.
I think a little bit of both. I don't think the Edmonton Oilers really capitalized on their chances, and I think that's a big reason they ultimately ended up losing the game. However, aside from a few individual moments, I don't actually hate the way the Leafs played. I think we had a solid game. There was individual moments you could point to. I think we started the game off solid, but we definitely let them get back into it by the end of the first. We were lucky to avoid a really big Draisaitl chance, but he missed the net wide after Muzzin blatantly just gave the puck away. But aside from little spurts and individual moments, I didn't hate our game. And I definitely, as much as the shots were very outnumbered, like Edmonton had significantly more shots and chances than us, I don't think they really had a lot of high quality chances. It's a very similar situation the Leafs have had a lot, where it's like, sure, you look on the shot department and we could be killing a team, but we ultimately end up losing. And you could say, yeah, but we really didn't test a goalie despite the specific number we had. So I don't think they really, aside from, yes, Campbell had to make some spectacular saves, and he absolutely did. But I don't think Edmonton played a great game whatsoever. I don't think they capitalized on a lot of the chances that we gave them. And overall, I think we did a good job shutting down their star players. I think we made it a difficult night for them. And overall, I think I'm more positive with the way they played than I see a lot of people out there. A lot of people very much look at the deserved to win meter, which was very much in favor of Edmonton, and saying, oh, we played not good enough, whatever. Sure, we definitely need to pick up our game a little bit. It wasn't a perfect game by the Leafs, but I think we played well enough to win. We got, as much as we didn't get as many chances on net in terms of number, I think we got a similar amount of high quality chances. We were able to score on our chances. They weren't, and that was a big part of the way we were able to win the game. Again, there was individual spurts, individual moments. We'd give the puck away. We'd make a brainless play, and it very much could have costed us. We got a few lucky moments where that big one I'll always look at the end of the first period. Draisaitl wide open net, missed it wide. That could have completely changed the game. If he buried that one, Edmonton took the 1-0 lead, it would have been a completely different story. But I think we got some luck in the chances that Edmonton missed, and we were able to capitalize on our chances. And I was actually pretty satisfied with the way they played. I think we played a lot better last night than in our games in the past. Because I think in the past few, we've definitely gotten back into a lot of old habits that we've kind of seen pop up. We had our huge stretch in November where we were unbelievable. Then there was a little stretch where we were playing some weak games, some games where, yes, we were finding ways to win, but we were blowing big time leads and stuff like that. I think I especially the third period last night, I liked the way that we had a big lead. Sure, Edmonton scored a goal. Colton Sceviour buried one. But then we were really able to take control back of the game. Weren't letting them get confidence. And I think we did a good job just taking control of the game when they were kind of getting chances on us. And overall, I'm pretty satisfied with how they played. Yes, you have to look at the fact that Edmonton didn't play as well enough as maybe they could have, but I'm pretty happy with the way the Leafs played overall.
Is that a measuring stick game?
God,
I've heard
shut up.
That's all I've been hearing, man, is that a measuring stick game versus the Oilers. You're facing McDavid. Every time you face McDavid, it's like, oh, this game, is it a measuring stick game? Are you going to live up to what we think you should? I personally don't think so. This Edmonton Oilers team is not elite. Every game should be a measuring stick game. But against these big teams.
Yeah, is every game not against like the Ottawa Senators a measuring stick game? No, the Edmonton Oilers are in 15th. They suck. They're not that good. Okay, they don't suck, but they're not that good.
No, I think saying suck is. I think saying suck is respectable.
They don't suck, but they're not a strong team overall. Like, I'm not
good.
scared.
So
I'm not scared of the Edmonton Oilers.
So they suck.
I saw a fun stat actually.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm saying great.
No, they haven't been great. Outside of McDavid and Draisaitl, they are a -19.
There's something outside McDavid and Draisaitl? I'm not aware. I'm not aware.
Nope.
Apparently, I didn't. Colton Sevier, I didn't even know he was on the Oilers.
I did not know he was on the team.
Warren Fogle, I forgot they traded
For Ethan
Connor what are you guys talking about? Connor McDavid scored last night.
Oh,
on his own net.
David scored last night.
It's not even 2026 yet.
Yeah, it's foreshadowing.
Yeah. Oh man, when Austin Matthew leaves to the Quebec City Coyotes, for and we get Connor McDavid. I can't wait.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look, I don't know. Like the Oilers need to figure something out, and this was the whole issue that I think a lot of people had when they signed Mikko Koskinen to those type of dollars. Because he looked great at the beginning of the year. But even if you want to look back at that last game that they had against Carolina, I mean, you're down 2-1. He goes for a puck behind his own net, and it goes right out in front of Sebastian Aho. And with 2.5 minutes left, you just turned a game into a chance that the Edmonton Oilers had to win, or like they had a chance to win, until like now it's over. And he's had these blunders where like, and even in that Austin Matthews goal, like it looked like he was extending out as if he was like 500 feet away from the net. Like that looked like a shit show. He's just not good anymore. Like he had a hot start, and this isn't a surprise. Like last year too, he wasn't that great.
Not at all.
Do you guys want to talk about another guy who hasn't been very good? Because you hit the nail right on the head, Evan. Jake Muslin's kind of ass.
We're gonna get to him. I wanted to separate.
No, we're getting to. Let's just do it now. Why not?
But,
no, why not? Why don't we just throw it all?
Press the fast
Jake
forward.
Muslin wants. Because
I don't know what else you say on this game. Like they beat them by a lot, and they probably shouldn't have, but they did. Move on. You know,
capitalize on your opposition's dismay, man. Like you step on their neck and throw them in the river. Old school Italian mob stories you're doing right now. You're committing murders on the ice, and that's what you have to do.
Organized crime.
Organized crime is what the word is.
Oh man, that's a banger title.
Organized crime.
Maybe not.
might get some reports on YouTube from that. That's gonna slow up the upload process 100%.
Yeah.
I feel like they gotta like sit him for, like I said this before. Like, I think they gotta like healthy scratch him once, and I don't think it would be the biggest
when they're
deal.
Healthy.
What? Well, like
there's too many injuries to
they can't do it now.
I know they can't do it now, which sucks. But like once Dermott and like Sandin get back, I think it's the time just to like just reevaluate yourself. And look, when I want to get into other stuff later, so I won't like say what I want to say now. But this is an issue that they need to discuss, because, and sometimes it's the kick in the ass that players need. Like it's not like, even if you look at the Islanders right now, like Anthony Beauvillier is getting healthy scratch, and that's the guy who scored the game 6 goal to make that series against Tampa Bay interesting. Yeah. Like sometimes that's just what you need, and it doesn't matter how much a player's making. Like no GM, like of course that matters, but like at a time like that, the coach doesn't give a fuck. Like who cares that you're making this amount of money? Like it's either you're good or you're not.
And
I agree with that.
Justin Hall and Jake Muzzin. I'm gonna throw Hall. But
Justin Hall's only making $2 million. Like that's not a lot.
We know Justin Hall is bad too.
They're both bad. That's why I'm throwing him in there.
On the
but
guy,
Muzzin's making like double that. So like, and that's more concerning that he is like, I don't know. It's horrible.
Because he's never been bad either. Jake Muzzin, we've always kind of liked, and he's always been pretty unnoticeable. Like pretty good offensively, I'd say. But
he's been a great top four. It's just for whatever reason this year
he's been awful. Not awful. Well, no, yeah, he's been awful. I'll say.
You can't go around it, Damo. It's awful.
It's been awful,
simple, man. We don't gotta complicate this.
We like to shit on Hall. Yo, sometimes we're like a little too harsh on Hall when some shit's Muzzin, who's been equally bad. He's never fast, but holy shit, he's like Duncan Keith slow right now, which might be an injury. I don't remember what he injured last year, but
you're gonna go.
That's kind of what I was gonna say. Is in the playoffs he got injured, and the way he's been playing all season, there's a question that he never fully recovered, because everything in his game. His decision making's off. Everything in his game, like it looks like he's a guy that's trying to play as good as possible while battling something. We don't know what it is. We're not going to speculate, but he looks like there's something that's holding him back in his game, and it's holding him back in his decision making. And there's very much, this is pure speculation, we don't know, but there's very much a question of health with these players, because we've seen a lot, especially with Jake Muzzin, we've seen a lot better from this player, and he's been a consistently solid guy. So it doesn't make sense that all of a sudden, like, good players don't just randomly become dog shit. Like, there's something that happened, and there is a clear moment that he got injured last playoffs, and there is a question mark there about whether he ever fully recovered. Again, it's speculation. We don't know. Right now, all we know is that this player isn't playing good enough. But there's some questions there with health, and if you have to, maybe hold this guy out for a game or two and maybe do some kind of screening. You have all this crazy expensive medical team, whatever. Use it. Say, Jake, sit him down. Is there something going on? And is there something we can maybe work on? It's early enough in the year, it's December, that maybe he could fix whatever's bugging him, fix whatever's holding him back. And all of a sudden, come playoff time, he's the Jake Muzzin we know and love. Because at his best, he's a very important part of this team. And like losing him in the Montreal series, I'd argue is a pretty big death sentence because he's that important at his peak. But his decision making's been ridiculous. And I'm all for defending players, but he hasn't been good enough whatsoever. Justin Hall as well hasn't been good enough at all. And you could talk about now I'm sort of getting a bit open to maybe you do need to sit this guy down. I'm not saying fucking take him out and whack him, but like
could
to the like
as long as Evan's not in management. No.
corporal punishment.
Do you guys see
you maybe need to sit this guy down and say, hey, take a game, like take a few games from the press box and kind of figure yourself out. Again, the issue is that we've had issues with health on defense. Of course, Rasmus Sandin is still going to be out for a bit, so it's hard to do it now. But at some point, you have to kind of figure something out because these are two players that are key parts of our defensive core, especially in the case of Jake Muzzin. And right now, we don't know what it is, but something has been holding them back. Something has been kind of an issue with their play. And at this point, it's not, oh, it's so early in the season. It's only a few games in. We're in December already. Like we're reaching I believe
we're over a third of the way there, right?
We're at 30 something already. So yes, there's a long season ahead, but no, we need to figure this out. And for a very positive season so far, those are two glaring holes that absolutely defense is something that's proven that could cause a problem come playoff time. Like it's proven that you need to be a good defensive team. And we need all three defensive pairs being capable of shutting down other teams' players. And we just haven't seen that from that pair especially. And it's not something I'm too stressed about right now because we're finding ways to win despite that. But it's very concerning that both Jake Muzzin and Justin Hall, something seems very wrong with them. I don't know if it's a health-related thing. I don't know what it is. But something's up there, and it's very concerning. And as much as Jake Muzzin, I actually... despite that one moment, I don't think he played a terrible game. I think there was actually there was one shift that I noticed he actually I forget what specifically it was, but there was one thing where I'm like, hey, that's actually something I know and love from Jake Muzzin. I think it was the fact that a player on Edmonton was skating into our zone, and Muzzin basically, rather than completely falling back, he stepped up and basically bodied the guy and was like, no, you're not stepping into my zone and getting a chance on that. So he has had some good plays. So I wasn't like after that game really ripping on him. I think he made up for his initial blunder by just fucking giving that puck away. But no, in general, both players, there's been concerns there. I don't know if it's health related. I don't know what it is. Jake Muzzin, I really look at health just because he had an injury somewhat recently. So there very much is a question mark of did this guy ever even fully recover? Because it's possible he didn't. There's very much concerns there. But yeah, I think we need to sit these players down, figure it out. And we have this medical team for a reason. Let's use it because I think we need to get these players back healthy if there is an issue, or we need to talk to them and figure out what exactly is holding them back and need to get them back on track, because having those two guys being liabilities out there as they've been right now is very much something that would concern me come playoff time.
I hope it's that simple though. Like sitting a guy, I hope it does stuff. I don't think it does. That's not my way of thinking. I think when you sit a guy down and he's not learning, we've seen Justin Hall. I don't know if they sat Muzzin yet this year. I don't know. Man, I could be completely wrong, but I know they sat Hall and still nothing coming from him. I need to see, these guys are supposed to be your second pair of defense, your brick wall. No one should be going through these guys. No one should be beating them in front of the net, and it keeps on happening. Turnovers should be extremely minimal with these two guys on the ice together. These guys aren't even ever on the ice together now, it seems, because you have to split them up because they're just so not on the same page. Like I think it has to be fixed. Like it's no working around it. I think, am I extreme in saying that an actual managerial change has to be made? Like,
No,
I don't know.
no,
Is Justin Hall have to be not just sent down, even traded? Like, what is that?
I think
Extreme?
you can make that argument
I don't
with
know.
Muzzin too.
Is that
I think you
extreme?
could trade
It
Muzzin
depends
too.
on if the right offer's there. Like you definitely need to begin that
Okay,
conversation.
here-
Dubas needs to have phone lines open. I'm not saying it's a must trade, but you need to either get this guy going, or if the right trade is there and someone gives you a proper offer, you need to consider trading this guy.
My issue though is like when I said that he needs to be traded a month ago, like I think he's hurt his value more than helped it over this last month. Like I thought, like a month ago, I thought you could get maybe a third or second round pick. Like I don't even know if you can get a fourth. Like I don't even know if you could get a fourth round pick. Like I don't even know if teams are willing to give up draft capital for him. So I think the market is so slim. And like I said a month ago, if you wanted to trade him, like a month ago was the time to do it, because now, no, like whatever, if he's a left or right hand, I can't remember what fucking special trait he has, but it doesn't contribute to anything. Like it literally doesn't matter because, and I was even like, this is like a little off topic, but like when you think about it, like I was watching like a football show and they were saying like sometimes it doesn't matter like what position they play. It's just a matter of how skilled they are, and then they could figure it out. So when you're thinking of a guy like Justin Hall, like yes, he's a right-handed shot or whatever, but like he doesn't bring anything else to the game other than the fact that he's a right-handed shot. He's not like shooting the puck anyway. But to make this brief, your time to trade him was a month ago. Like at this point, it's done. Like no one's taking.
They've given him too much time. Like 30 games is ridiculous.
But if you're looking for the right package, like what is the right package? Like
you're not gonna get one.
You're not getting anything.
He is an AHL player. You're not getting anything.
He's playing like one right now.
You're not gonna get anything.
He's never
you're
been
gonna
that
be
good,
happy
man.
with. Like
I've never been a Justin Hall guy.
Like, they're not getting anything that they're going to be happy with. So like at this point, it's just whatever team finally pulls the trigger. Like I think LA should, because they need a big boy defenseman, and they have a great player development that can really help him. And I think he would be great in LA, considering what they've lost in Matt Roy and Sean Walker. But Toronto's just not it.
Well, the one thing I'll say to compare the situations between Jake Muzzin and Justin Hall, there's one situation with Jake Muzzin where this bad season is an outlier. For Justin Hall, his one good season is the outlier. And in general, he's never been an unbelievable player. Because of what we saw last year, I do know he's capable of more, because he had some crazy good season, or not crazy good, but for his standards, a good season.
And we can all agree on that.
But it's looking more and more that was an outlier, because he just hasn't brought the same thing. And before that, like before he became a solid player in that one season, he was very much a guy that was riding the bench for most of the year. So it's looking more and more like the year he was good was a fluke, as opposed to the other way around, where I do think with Jake Muzzin, there's pieces there, because he's obviously been a proven player in the league. But maybe it's a question of injury, it's a question of age, it's whatever. You have to figure out what the issue is, because the way they've been playing right now is very unacceptable.
Last one I got asked this year, and then we'll move on, because this debate is getting a little old, especially for Leafs fans to talk about, considering we could have gotten such better options if we pulled the trigger sooner. And about pulling that trigger, when is Dubas pulling this trigger? Because how bad does it have to get with these two guys? We're at 30 games. Nothing's been better, I think successful. Like what is it going to be, 40?
I think it's easier
deadline.
But it's easier to trade Jake Muzzin, but I don't want to trade him, because I know that like I have more faith in Jake Muzzin picking it up than I do Justin Hall. And the issue is I think the trade deadline's way too late to bring in a new player, especially a defenseman, when you only have 6 of them on your roster, like on your starting roster. And I think you need to get something done before the All-Star break, ideally, because that's when the second half starts to ramp up again. And that's when your roster should be like, quote unquote, finalized. Like there shouldn't be any question marks surrounding your team around February and March. You know what I mean? Like has to be something done before then.
I don't think he ever does it. I don't think, like, if getting Jared McCann was not going to do it, then he's never going to do it, because he has this guy. I've been saying this guy, Kyle Dubas, might have a little crush on Justin Hall. Like, he was never that good, guys. Justin Hall had a Norris season. Oh, I shut down McDavid one time. He was like a serviceable number 5 defenseman last year, and this year he's playing like a number 8 defenseman.
Like
not even a 7. I wouldn't even put him as a 7. He's playing like a number 8 defenseman. Like I'd play Rubens over him. I'd give Mac Hollowell a look. I'd probably, oh man, Topi Niemela. Leaf fans are like, when your mom puts a cake in the oven and like you can't have it yet, but it's going to be ready soon. That's Topi Niemela right now. I think if we could bring him back
on this show, Jesus Christ, that was awesome.
I think that's if he can come back for the playoffs, he's right-handed too, right? Niemela right-handed? I think he's right-handed too.
I think so, yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Just doesn't matter.
I don't think
it doesn't matter at all.
Literally,
he is right-handed too.
Literally, that makes zero impact. As long as he play defense, it's all anybody gives a rat's ass about.
Like Niemela's sick too.
At this point, it doesn't matter.
Niemela is in this year thing, but just I'm so excited for him. Like, completely off topic. I'm so excited for him to come over. There's a bunch of like Finnish and just European players out there, like in the Leafs prospect system.
Yeah, they're going to be really
looks
good.
Unbelievable. Matthew Nyes looks sick.
Yeah, he's going to be with Team USA, right?
He's Team USA World Juniors. I am excited for him.
I'm so excited for that, man.
We'll talk World Juniors after, but go ahead.
No, I wasn't really gonna say that. I was just gonna say Dubas is not trading any of them. And as for trading Jake Muzzin, that's a bad contract as of right now. He's making what, 5.5, 5? I think he's for what? What's he doing? He's not doing anything to warrant 5. So I don't think you move any guys, right? You don't move any guys when they're at their low because you're not going to get the peak value. I think I'm no GM, but I am a fantasy GM, and I'm like looking at guys right now like, ooh, Patrick Kane ranked 112, Dave Pastrnak ranked 61st. Those are guys that, and I know that too. Those are their exact ranks.
I'm not happy with the pasta pick.
Oh man, he's shooting 7%. I'd keep him if I were you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't trade a guy when he's, like Evan said, at his lowest. So you just gotta ride it out.
I think we should end this like soon. But I'm saying like the peak value for Justin Hall died. Like it died. Yeah. There's nothing. With Jake Muzzin's a little bit different because he's more proven. We've seen it before. Every guy in their career has a year where it's just not clicking. But for Justin Hall, it's the vice versa, where it's just 1 year where it was clicking. So I think we should just end on that. And just end on.
I think moving on might be the right call. I mean, I don't know. Quickly, this last thing, and I don't know. It should be just a yes or no answer. Good, bad. McCabe, how do you look? Good, bad, easy.
Solid.
I didn't see it.
Like, I had no complaints. He didn't do anything like crazy notable, but I can't even give like a yes or a no because like he wasn't amazing, but he wasn't noticeably bad either. He was very like meh. Like I'm happy.
He did what he needed to do.
I'm happy to have him back.
Yeah, he zoomed, man. He zooms. That's about it.
I'm a little disappointed he wasn't in Tim's picks. I would have been all over that.
Oh yeah.
Every time I remember last year, I picked him every single time. He's like the Nick Ritchie pick this year. Every time Ritchie's available, I pick him. That was my Ilya last year because if Ilya Mikheyev scored,
you would go nuts.
Oh, I'd go berserk.
Yeah,
love that guy.
Speaking of Tim's picks, though, a lot of people's picks will be in jeopardy now, considering the NHL is facing a very big issue over the past couple of days. The last 72 hours, over 25 players have been added to the NHL's COVID protocol list. Some big names, Brad Marchand, I believe I saw Bergeron hit it too. So
just like when you're listening to 25, like 17 of those are from one team.
Yeah,
like,
all
from Calgary, and then Calgary played Boston.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, it's a whole ripple effect. Like some areas, like
it's a domino.
Calgary, Carolina, I think has a lot of COVID cases in their organizations. These teams are legit, like hanging by threads, falling, whatever you want to insert your metaphor there, but it's getting really bad in the NHL. Barzal was another big name. Monahan with the Flames, and Svechnikov probably would be one of the bigger names on the Canes. But how bad can this get for the NHL? I think this is personally what I'm seeing, and I don't know, my crystal ball has been pretty foggy as of late, but I don't know. I see the Olympics is not the biggest concern now, as we're going to touch upon in a little bit. The Olympics isn't really looking too optimistic. Like there's not going to, I don't know. I personally don't think they're going to go to the Olympics. I think it's so much things are up in the air. Players are going a little bit against it. it's not the best option for them this year. And I don't think providing for your country, trying to get a gold medal is the answer to these sort of bigger than hockey, I guess, if you want to call it, things. These guys all have families, or majority of them do. And I don't think they want to sacrifice all this kind of stuff for a gold medal that they don't even know if we don't even know if they have the guaranteed green light on winning it. So again, that's Olympic talk, but my idea,
some breaking news.
Breaking news. Oh God.
Well, not so much breaking news, but a minute ago from David Dwork, who is a beat reporter for the Florida Panthers, Sam Bennett, Radko Gudas, Ryan Lomberg, Brendan Montour, Carter Verhaeghe, and one member of the Panthers training staff will enter COVID protocol.
Keeps on getting worse, man. It's
shit.
It's comes.
They will not play against the LA Kings.
Yeah. When it rains, it pours. When it rains, it pours. I don't know.
Yeah,
we have a shot. We have a shot.
I don't know. What do you guys see happening? Because you want to say something before I go a little further?
Oh well, no, I was just gonna talk about the thoughts on the Olympics and like.
Let's focus on the NHL and then we'll get.
No, this isn't. This ties into both.
Go for it.
Okay, so like obviously the NHLPA, they had their sit down meeting yesterday. The NHL season will not pause, but when I was talking to my dad this morning before he left for work, we had come to this like idea that maybe if the players decide not to do the Olympics, it would be in the best interest of that 3-week period. Have those makeup games. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Sorry,
great minds think alike, Evan.
Sorry, I was also just thinking that too. That like that 3-week break where like maybe some players from teams that aren't affected, they want to go and represent, like they have that power, they have that ability. And I was like, I saw like on the outline, like the issue is like if you test positive there,
it's ridiculous.
You have to stay for 3 weeks. So
at least,
yeah. So look, and I was telling my dad's like, yeah, well, it doesn't matter. Like they still want to win a gold medal. Like I think like teams that are in serious playoff contention are going to reject the offer, because if you're going to be, it's not like you can even like be with the team, and with the time difference and everything, like communication is just going to be skewed. It just seems like a horrible situation.
No, it's an ugly plan that they're going down in China. And there's a whole political side of it as well. We'll get into it when we touch upon the Olympics. But going back to the NHL, like we're looking at the COVID cases, like you mentioned, Adamo, Florida now just got struck by it. They're just continuing to rise. I heard Ontario and I think Canada as well. There's going to be I believe a deadline where past the new year or into the new year. And I can see it quite happening because with this way the government swings, it's more than a reality. You're not going to be having fans in your building anymore. So buy your Leaf tickets quick, because I don't think they're going to see a lot of Leaf fans at Scotiabank Arena or wherever you are in Canada be playing. Like it's getting really bad.
They have to stop the fans, man.
No,
it's ridiculous.
It's exactly the Omicron variant. I think it is. I don't know. I don't pay too much attention to the news, but that's wreaking havoc all over Canada and Ontario. And the NHL, like I can see Vancouver situation from last year. I think that was the worst that we've seen with the COVID protocol. And like that destructed the team. It had a horrible effect on them before that. And then in the middle of it, and then right after, like they were done for the year. Thankfully, it happened near the end of the year, but they couldn't get back on track. And this is, if you're a team or you're a general manager of your squad, you're trying to take every precaution necessary. You're making sure your players fall. You're setting a really set in stone set of rules so that your players don't go over the line and have this situation happen. Because I can see 2, 3, 4 teams in this NHL right now, even the ones that just got hit, getting into the same situation that the Vancouver Canucks were in last season. Like, I don't know, is there an answer to solving this problem? Do they have to wait it out? Are they going to shut down the league for 2 weeks? Like, I don't know. How extreme do you want to go?
I think I read somewhere that they were going back to last year's protocols. I could be wrong, but that's
they are until January 7th or something like that.
Which makes sense, I guess, which kind of sucks right around the holidays. I don't know. I'm guessing guys can see their families, but they can't like go out party and shit. But I think that's the answer. You gotta go back to the last year's protocols, and I think the fans gotta go too, or at least limited. There's no way we're sitting here in Toronto, Ontario, with 1,808 cases today. I looked it up, and we're still seating a packed 21,000 at Scotiabank.
Well, no, they now reduced it to 50%.
Actually?
Yeah, just until the foreseeable future.
Holy cow, I didn't even hear about
for all of Ontario.
Yeah. And that was expected.
That's good.
You couldn't.
Yeah,
well, it's good for the league, of course.
Yeah, fantastic. And basketball's being hit even harder.
Yeah,
Holy
it's
cow.
North American sports.
I don't know what's happening. Like all of a sudden this week, like I don't know what the hell
It came
is
out of
going.
nowhere.
I
Yeah.
think because this is like the week, I guess people are starting to go on vacation, and then the Omicron variant said skeet
No.
into
Well,
Canada, and I don't know.
It's all
weird.
there. There's no real thing to pin it on. I don't know. Jared, what are your thoughts on the COVID situation with the NHL? Can it be solved? Like, what are some answers? Get creative. I think that's what everyone's trying to do in that organization.
Like it's tough to really come up with this is what they have to do. It's very much in my mind, it's a kind of wait and see thing. It depends. If cases get bad enough, yes, no one's going to agree to yes, let's shut everything down. No one's going to agree to that. However, if you're having 5+ cases on every team, like at a point you can't keep traveling and keep playing games because all of a sudden Calgary is playing this team, then that team gets COVID, then that team goes and plays another team, and it's a whole chain effect. And soon enough, everyone's getting it. And yes, a lot of people are vaccinated, so the cases aren't exactly as scary as they were early on in the virus. Like in March 2020, it's not like people are necessarily like most people at least. Like it's not like a lot of people are dying and whatever, but it's still it's a virus, it's an illness, and it's spreading ridiculously fast right now. And I'm not saying the answer is shutting it down. That's actually something we're going to talk about later in my news segment, because I'm basically bringing up some tweets. So one of them is basically asking this question we're discussing now of, is shutting it down the right move? And it's not a matter of I'm going to go out there and vote, let's shut it down. But at a point, if things keep trending the way they are, it's definitely something that you have to consider. And I know it's not something that the players are going to agree with. It's not something that the league itself is going to agree with. They don't want to. No one wants to shut it down. But if cases keep trending the way they're going right now, especially in cases where people are going to go home for the holidays and be with family and go out, and cases are going to continue to skyrocket, and at a point you have to ask the question of, does it make sense to continue playing like we are right now, and do we have to talk about a break? I hope that doesn't happen. I don't want another stoppage because it completely changes everything. Like, you saw what happened in March 2020 where things shut down and didn't resume until August of that year. Like, it could, if it shuts down, there's question about when they're going to be able to even continue. So I hope we keep playing as long as possible. I don't want them to shut down, but very much we have to ask the question, and it's not something that I or anyone is going to have the answers on right now. We kind of have to very much. It's a scary situation because we don't know. We have to wait and see what happens, and if cases get as bad as people fear they may, there's question about what's going to happen with the game, and I'm scared to say that because I want the certainty. I want to know that things are going to continue playing out and we're going to continue this season. But with entire teams being postponed and shut down at a point, does it make sense to keep playing anymore? And I hope we don't shut down, but it may end up being the option. Obviously, it's very much let's wait and see what happens. But as soon as it gets to every team and there's cases on every team, like, you have to ask the question. I don't know. It's really unfortunate that we're talking about because I was very much mentally done with COVID. I was very much over it. I was very much, we're getting life back to normal. It's awesome. But now that it's getting colder, the same way flu's going around, it's COVID season again. We have this new variant Omicron coming in, and it's taking the league by storm. And we kind of, no one has the answers right now. As much as the league made an agreement, sure, they said we're not going to shut down. But as soon as cases get to everyone, if every single person in the league gets this thing, what are we going to do? Like, you can't play. So we're going to have to wait and see. It's really unfortunate, but I hope it doesn't shut down. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know. No one has the answers right now. I really hope this thing goes away quietly, but the way it's trending right now, there's some real reason to believe that this might halt the season as of now.
And the league's been really hush hush about it. Like, I haven't heard any, I don't know if maybe I'm just like completely lost out of the loop, but I haven't heard anything about what's the plan if they don't go to the Olympics. Like, does the schedule continue and just resume during that break time? Is it just a natural break for the players? Like, I don't know. Like, if you got to figure it out, you need to, first of all, you got to find out if these players are even going to play in the Olympics. Because I think if you can get that answer as soon as possible, now you could shut down. If it were a shutdown, you could take the 2 weeks off or whatever you need to take for COVID reasons. Take that off as soon as you can. and then just regroup it in the new year with that break. And I think that personally for me, maybe I'm just seeing it a different way, but I think that might be the best option on the table for them if it gets that worse. And that's the thing, time is not something we can get back. It's not something that, I don't know, like it's ticking for sure. And with every second that you're waiting on hearing a decision, you're trying to make a decision, more and more players are hitting the list, more and more teams are getting destructed. So I think they got to nip this one in the bud as soon as possible. And I don't know, I know none of you guys have the answers. I feel kind of crummy posing it on you, but it's just a very unfortunate situation brewing in the NHL. I really wish we didn't have to worry about this. And like you, Jared, I'm in the same boat. I was really putting COVID in the back of my mind, seeing fans at the building, going to the building myself when I went to a couple of Leafs games in the preseason. It just felt so much natural, so much more, I guess you could say, more of a reality. And now I guess we're getting hit with some cold, hard reality just as much as the NHL is. I don't know. Is there anything else to say about the NHL specifically, or should we make our way to the Olympics? Because that's also a pretty interesting topic to dive into.
Say go to the Olympics because it kind of ties in.
They blend together very closely. And I mean, the NHL and the NHLPA, they've pretty much said, listen, Gary Bettman was like, okay, you guys can go to the Olympics. It's all up to you. It's all up to you. We give you the green light to do it. If you want to go to the Olympics and face all these quarantinings, these rules, whatever, these restrictions, go right ahead. We have the break in place for you. You guys can do what you want. And then this is where it's pretty interesting now. The NHL's like, yeah, our hands are wet clean, but the players, they're in a conflict, man. Like I heard McDavid, he said that the rules and restrictions was a bit unsettling, to end his quote. I don't know. There's so many elements mixed in with the, Evan, you hinted at it before, the restrictions, the quarantining, the 3 weeks that you have to take away from your family, let alone the tournament itself. So I don't know, how low have your expectations dropped that us seeing 2022 Olympic Games with McDavid and all these players participating? Because personally for me, I really have very foggy views of what to expect. Adama, what do you think?
I think Canada's still going to ice a team with NHL players. I think every country is. I don't think they're going to be the best of the best, though. Like, I don't think we're going to get a stacked Team Canada, but I think there are going to be some guys, I'm going to take a little more optimistic spin, but a realistic spin too, where some guys are going to say, okay, I am a single man. I'm making $4 million. And the chance I get COVID still is pretty little because I'm going to have 3 needles in me and I'm going to be in a pretty safe Olympic village where, maybe COVID gets in, but we did the Olympics this summer and it wasn't too bad if I recall. I'm going to take the risk and I'm going to go try to win a gold medal for my country because it's been my dream. So I think we're going to see, like I said, a decent team, maybe, Manjapani. I know he's in COVID protocol right now, but maybe we see him actually make the team if he wants. So yeah, that'd be my take on it. I don't want to talk too long because there's not too much to say because you can't really speculate on what guys are thinking.
Exactly.
Because, there's so many factors that go into it, family life. Guys, if you get 5 weeks in China without pay, that's like some guys are losing like $1 million. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll be brief. Like, I still think, look, the Olympics are still a little bit ways away. So I think it's hard to make an executive decision now, but if guys are healthy, they're going to want to go. Like now that I'm thinking about, like, if you're healthy, you want to go represent Canada. So I think it all just comes down to then that, and like, there's constant testing, like the quarantine issues. And I'm even thinking back to, like, remember when the NBA did the bubble, like the first week, it was a little bit of a shit show. Like, they actually thought of canceling, postponing the season, just saying like no 2020 champ. And then like, over time, it just became a consistent routine thing where they'd go get their tests in the morning, they'd get it back like 15 minutes later, and then they would go to practice. Like, although it does suck getting that like shoved up your nose, it's a pain in the ass. And although it's like 20 seconds, it still sucks. But look, if guys want to win a gold medal in 15 years, when everything's done, they could tell their grandkids that they won a gold medal with Team Canada or Team USA, like, they're going to want to do it. So I'll just be brief. I think they still go, but only time will tell in terms of what happens within the next month or so.
Yeah, I pretty much, I think you guys nailed it. There's no way to actually be 100% certain with what's happening in people's minds. This is a very tough topic, obviously, to talk about because it's very much speculation, and it's just like in theory what makes the most sense, but you never know what these guys are thinking. Some people have their own health concerns and their own like more at risk for things. That's a concern they have to consider. The big one has to be family life and family concern, because a lot of people, there's a big difference between the guys that are in the prime of their career that have a couple kids already and they have a wife and whatever, versus your young buck, 20 years old, who's still partying every night and whatever. So there's a big difference between the kind of mental mind state of these people, because of course some people want to make sure that they're able to be there for their family, while others don't really have anyone to go home to, and they are perfectly fine just going out on their own. And sure, I get stuck in China, like of course that would be horrible, but like people have a lot less on the line, as opposed to some that have a bunch of kids in Canada that they can't afford to leave for 3 to 5 weeks. So it's very much going to be a matter of outweighing that and considering what is more valuable, like winning a medal or being able to spend the time with your family. And I do think ultimately a lot of people are going to turn away from the Olympics. There definitely will still be people who go, but it won't be as many as we previously thought. I don't think we're going to be able to ice that crazy lineup of every single person that hypothetically should be there, because people just don't want to make that risk. People have family and friends that they need to be there for. And this just isn't the time where people want to take that risk of being locked away in a foreign country in probably a small hotel, not able to contact anyone. As Evan said, because of time difference, it'll be hard to even communicate with their friends back home. And it's just, they're going to be very isolated in that situation. And that's, as yes, that's the worst case scenario, but it's a factor you have to consider, because you can't just go into this foreign place being like, oh, I'm sure everything will be fine. But what if it's not? What if someone comes into that bubble, has COVID, spreads it around, then all of a sudden you're locked in a foreign place with a foreign government that isn't going to be necessarily like, oh, is there for you. You're going to lose a lot of money. I think the NHL has already stated that they're not going to pay you back for the time you're away and the time you miss. So it's very much going to be, sure, the IIHF is going to try to help you out a little bit. They have a certain amount of money allocated to help like pay for these players, even if they're isolated, but it's not enough that these people are going to get back the millions of dollars they're potentially losing. So it's just a very scary situation. There's a lot of like unsureness, and as much as yes, it's far away, it's not that far away. It's already middle of December. We're talking about February already. So it's very much like something that these people are thinking about now. It's probably going to be a decision that's made very last minute. Like it's going to be probably by the All-Star game. That's only when they're going to start making their decision and finalize what the plan is, because it's very much something that changes by the day. It changes by what the cases are in that current week, in that current day. Like it's something that you constantly need to consider. And yeah, it's just a tough situation overall. I really thought a few weeks ago even that things were going to go a lot smoother. It was going to be awesome. We were going to have this Olympics. We were going to get to see guys who have never had a chance to represent their country in the Olympics finally go and play. And it's just going to be a lot tougher now. And there are people with family at home that it's going to be a lot harder to leave their family and put that risk aside to go represent your country. Like no one could afford that risk. So it's a tough situation. I hope everything works out, but at the end of the day, we kind of have to wait and see.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's just strictly up to the players, right? Like the NHL, a lot of NHL players don't have to go. It's up to whichever ones would like to go.
Yeah, it's a voluntary.
Okay.
It's up to which players want to go.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, bring up the argument, why not paint it black and white? Say no NHL players can go, or they can go, but I guess that's not the case. You have the option to do it if you want to. It's basically in your hands. I thought it was a little bit more on the league.
The IIHF does not want to bring on schmucks again that are like 35.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Ben Scrivens was Canada's goalie. Don't you dare.
Exactly. Congratulations. That's what I'm saying. Like the IIHF would prefer Crosby and McDavid than the guy that works at McDonald's, but that's up for a little bit later.
No, yeah, it's very much people need to make the decision. Like there is people, for example, Steven Stamkos, who have never represented their country. And when this opportunity pops up, it's going to be very hard for those guys who have never gotten this opportunity. Like Connor McDavid's young. He's going to have another chance at the Olympics. But a lot of these guys, this is their last shot. This is their last chance. And that's why it's very unfortunate that it's happening during a COVID time, because it could mean that some of these guys don't ever get the chance. They could be Hall of Famers that have their Stanley Cups, whatever, but they never got that opportunity to represent their country in the Olympics. And it's very unfortunate, but ultimately people need to consider what the best thing is for them. And we're going to see what happens. I hope people go because purely for like a selfishly, purely for an entertainment standpoint, I want to watch Olympic hockey. But these are human beings that are going to make the decision that's best for them and their families. And as unfortunate as it would be if these superstar players don't go over there, you have to kind of put yourself in their perspective a little bit and consider the amount of time they're away from their family, the risk that's put on them, the fact that in the worst case scenario, they're going to be left there quarantining for up to 5 weeks potentially, depending on when in the tournament they test positive. So it's just a very unfortunate and scary situation. I hope it all works out. I hope we're all talking about the worst case scenarios and it ends up being a lot better than we expect. But right now, there's a lot up in the air. There's a lot of kind of unsureness, uncertainty. So I really hope it all works out. But right now, there's a lot of question marks there. With NHLers going to the Olympics, I want it to happen. I hope it happens.
Yeah,
but it's tough.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess time's gonna have to tell. I hope last time we talked about this, we were very fired that this would come to fruition. We'd see players in the NHL finally playing in the Olympics for the first time since 2014. That is looking, as the days gain momentum, much less the case. And I guess we'll have to reapproach this conversation on a weekly basis and see where the NHL lies, the NHLPA lies. Even though the NHL doesn't have too much of a say in it, but I'm interested to see what they have planned in store with the COVID situation and how the Olympics are going to play out. And if this decision gets met in the upcoming weeks or maybe that January deadline, who knows? But I guess it's just another situation of we'd have to wait and see. And I want to get into something that I guess Canucks fans have been waiting to see. Bruce,
can
there
I talk
it is.
about Florida or no? Like, can I talk about the one thing I want to say about Florida?
After.
We'll do that after.
We'll do it after.
All right.
No, but Vancouver Canucks fans, they have a lot to celebrate about for the first time this year, because not only do they have the best chant in hockey, Bruce, there it is. If you have not heard it, I absolutely love it. But again, Bruce Boudreau, man, he has turned this franchise around. Ladies want him, men want to be him, and all the Canucks fans are just all of the above, because this man is rocking Van City. He is winners of 5 straight. He's got a perfect record right now, and man, he is knocking off some, I wouldn't say decent teams, but he's doing what he has to do. The offense is humming. Demko is putting on a show throughout the homestand. And even some more news above him, Jim Rutherford is now the president of hockey ops and will be the interim GM for the time being. So at least they have someone now steering the ship. I personally believed they were going to worry about this a lot more later into the year, maybe even spill it towards the offseason. But apparently they want to get it as soon as possible. And I don't think Jim Rutherford's going to be the definite GM and president of hockey ops, but I think it's a good one to have. He's a Hall of Famer nonetheless, a good person to have in the front office. So are we jumping on the Vancouver train now? Because Evan, man, your tires are close to being exploded because all he's been doing, and fans of the show, listeners across the nation. And if you did not know, I want to share this little tidbit. We have listeners in Finland. If you did not know, that is pretty sick. We got Finnish listeners.
Shout out to you guys.
If I knew, yeah, shout out to you guys. I appreciate all the support. But again, no, what are we making of Vancouver Canucks? Because I wouldn't go as far to say they're legit, but we said things have to be starting to get clicking and things are snapping quickly together. Evan, man, you've been talking about the Canucks all week, man. So give your spiel.
Well, I never want to pump my own.
I knew that one was coming.
I knew I was going to start with that.
But look,
pump his tires.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I understand they had the roster, but sometimes it is the coach that is the problem. And I did say that if there was one coach that I had confidence in to turn this team around, it was Bruce Boudreau. And this was before they started the 5-game winning streak. And look, I think what they've been doing is great. Brock Besser is finally waking up again. He's scored, or he's at least registered a point in 3 of the 5 games that Vancouver has won, which is great for him. He's finally picking it up again. Quinn Hughes has been great offensively, and 3 assists last night and what was a come from behind win down 3-0. Granted, it's the Columbus Blue Jackets, but any comeback of that matter, especially starting midway through the second and then culminating with a goal 59 seconds left in the game, is just great confidence boost that this team needs. And I said they could make the playoffs. Currently, they're 3 points out of the second wild card spot because Edmonton keeps losing. And when we had this discussion at first, they were 9 points out. So they're slowly creeping up. I still think out of the teams that aren't in the playoffs push, I think they have the best chance of getting that second wildcard team. I know Winnipeg's there now. I think by the end of the year, they'll be one of those top 3 in the Central. So I'm not too. That's why I consider Vancouver, because I think that's the only way they can make the playoffs. But Boudreau's been great. Demko has been a beast. I think he had 2 shutouts in these 5 wins. I think he has like a .956 save percentage since Bruce Boudreau became the coach. Obviously, it's not going to consistently be like this, but it's definitely great signs. And I'm starting to get like Daryl Sutter vibes of when he first came in LA, and like all of a sudden everyone's clicking again and Quick's winning the Conn Smythe and all that. So yeah.
What do you guys got? What do you guys got about the Canucks?
I don't like. I think we need to chill a little bit on the Canucks. I think anytime a team hires a new head coach or fires someone that they don't like, it's a fuck you. We're gonna play harder. We're gonna play this guy. We're gonna embrace the shit out of it, and we're gonna play really good. I think that happens at literally any level. So they're good. They've been really good. I'm not taking it away from them. But let's chill on the playoff talk, because their blue line, I don't think Jesus Christ himself could coach into being a good blue line. Like Demko has to stand on his head, which we know he can. And they need to play like serviceably defensively, which I don't think they can. Just looking at the personnel there, Bruce Boudreau's always been an offensive guy. He's always been a run and gun guy that, super creative offensively. But if you aren't in an offensive scheme and your defense already sucks, I think you're asking for disaster.
He's playing with fire, man. I don't know. Like he's doing everything he can. Bruce Boudreau, especially, he's the man in Vancouver right now. They are praising him. They take him as gospel. Whatever he says goes.
Person of the year, man.
Screw Elon Musk. He should not be on that cover. Bruce Boudreau definitely is in the cover in Vancouver, but his style of play. We were really talking about Bruce Boudreau last week, and
he's good.
He's a very good player, very good coach, and he coaches very good players, and he knows how to get to very good players. I think we're seeing that with the Bester's successes of late. Pettersson's been picking up the slack a lot after a horrible start to the year, and Demko and net. We expected this. We knew he was a great goaltender. Our USA talks from last week as well would attest to that, but he's finding a way to string it all together. So everything's clicking. That's what we needed to see from the Canucks with his coaching change. It's not like you make a coaching change to get worse. Coaching changes are meant for this stuff to happen. And like you said, Adam, I don't know if we should be too surprised at this now, considering his resume, what he brings to teams, and what these players are capable of doing. Jared, do you have any other additions to add to the Canucks situation?
Well, I just want to say, for starters, credit where credit's due. I think Evan absolutely nailed it last week by saying that the right coach for a team that's built like the Vancouver Canucks, who's very offense heavy, is a coach like Bruce Boudreau. And I think he's doing exactly what we hoped he'd do when he stepped in there. He's getting everything out of that offensive team. They have a lot of guys who are capable of scoring, and he's very much letting them kind of go loose, and he's not being hard on them. He's very much making them find fun playing hockey again. And ultimately, these guys are professional athletes, but at the end of the day, it's a sport that they love playing, and you're going to get the best from a team when they're having fun playing hockey. And that's what Bruce Boudreau is doing right now. He is getting Brock Besser, who I understandably must have been very down on himself early in the year. And I'm sure, obviously we don't know what happened behind closed doors, but I'm sure he has some kind of way of getting offensive guys to play to what they're capable of. And I just think, looking back to last week, Evan kind of nailed it by saying this is the right coach they brought in. I'm not saying I doubted him. I'm not saying I doubted Bruce Boudreau. I was happy when they signed him. But yeah, I think he nailed it by saying this is the right coach for an offensive-minded team. And it's very much showing right now. I do find myself kind of in the middle of both points, where I do agree with Adamo in the sense that we should chill a little bit. I don't think they're going to be this dominant moving forward. I mean, they've won 5 in a row, of course, right after the new coach is brought in. So it's hard not to kind of overreact a little bit. I think they are going to come down to earth a bit because there's definitely still glaring holes on that defense. But yeah, this new coach is getting the offense to play the way that they're capable of playing. And right now it's resulting in wins. I definitely don't think they're out of the playoff race because, as I mentioned last week, at this time of year, a few wins in a row, a few positive weeks get you back in the race. And as far back as they were, that's what we're seeing. 5 wins in a row, and all of a sudden they're right back there in the race and in the conversation to crack a wild card spot. They're definitely still in it. I think I'd like the GM. Of course, now Jim Rutherford was brought in. I'd like them to do something to address the issues on defense because it is a little bit concerning looking at that lineup. I don't have a lot of confidence in their defense. If they even do crack the playoffs, I don't know how much faith I have there because of that issues on D. But no, they on paper were a team that going into the year I had confidence in because of how good they are capable or how good they should be offensively. And it's showing now. They have a coach that's really getting the most out of their players, and right now it's working. We're gonna wait and see how it continues moving forward. But I'm liking what I'm seeing there. I'm happy that they're kind of having fun playing hockey again. I love the Bruce There It Is chant. I love that the Canucks fans are embracing this whole situation, and it's a lot better than what we were seeing a few weeks ago when it was miserable. Jerseys were being thrown. Regardless of how the team was playing, you were hearing boos consistently throughout games. So no, I like that Canucks fans are kind of finding positivity right now. Things are clicking. There's still a long season to go. Like we're still going to need to see how they kind of prove themselves and how they play moving forward. But right now, so far so good. Let's kind of keep it up.
Yeah, and enjoy it, Canucks fans. I think this is just a pretty solid case and something you present to the phrase that I like to coin a lot in this show, both now and previously with my other crew. Cows don't make ham. Did you know that? I hope you did, because offensive players don't forecheck and go become grinders overnight, like Travis Green wanted them to be. Grinders?
What's ham? No, what's ham?
Cows don't make ham. Do you understand the reference?
No.
Yeah.
What is ham?
What is
I
ham?
actually don't know. Yeah.
Like the meat?
The meat.
Yeah.
It's from a pig. We eat it in sandwiches.
That makes sense. Never mind.
On barbecue.
Continue.
We just clarified that you
Forget that
apparently.
Forget that ever happened. Continue.
No, but I wish I was going to go on a little bit of a tangent with my metaphor, but apparently some people here don't know what ham is. So again, cows don't make ham. What that means, again, to reiterate, is that these offensive players that they have in such an abundance, a plethora of offensive talents, they're not going to have to respond. They're not really should be responding to a play style or a coaching style that makes them go gritty in the corners, win a bunch of puck battles when you can get a guy like we've seen this in Toronto specific, Hyman Bunting, whatever, a guy like that, a model like that to go get you the puck. I think that suits them a lot more. So I think Bruce Boudreau has brought in a new style that I think we've just nailed on the head. But yeah, cows don't make ham, man. Get your offensive players to get going. Pigs do. And you know who was coaching a little bit like a pig would be Travis Green, considering all the pressure he put on his players, even Travis Green, like all the ugly moves that I don't even want to go back into that envelope because holy cow, we went through a long list of ugly moments in Vancouver Canucks land, and let's just not reopen that one for their sake. So I guess enjoy it, Vancouver Canucks fans. I don't know if we have anything else to say about the Canucks because they're just rolling 5-0. Bruce is doing his job. Players are doing their jobs, and they're winning. So playoffs are getting even greater as we approach any mark in the season, and set your marker here. But we're in a good place, good headspace, Canucks fans. Evan, do you want to add anything on them, or do you want to go to your Florida rant before we hit Jared's beautiful new novel segment of the show that I cannot wait to unpack? So what do you got for the Florida Panthers?
So look, like the one thing, obviously last night they lost 8-2 to the Ottawa Senators. All the credit goes to Ottawa, though, because they are winners of 5 of their last 6. So they also have been rolling. But the one thing that I thought of, and the one thing that was very telling to me yesterday, and so here's my thought. I think the Florida Panthers need to send Spencer Knight down to the AHL. It's not based on just this last start that he had where he was pumped for 8 goals. But if you look at his starts in November, he started 7 games in the month of November. And in 4 of those 7 games, he gave up 3 or more goals. He's currently 6-6, like 6-4-2, whatever. He's lost 6 games. That's all I really care about. And then in these 2 games in December, he gave up 4 goals to St. Louis, and then he gave up 8 goals to Ottawa. So right now, his goals against skyrocketed to 3.42. His save percentage is now sub 900. And the one telling thing that I noticed that was very quiet is that the Florida Panthers picked up Jonas Johansson off of waivers, who was the Colorado Avalanche goalie. So that makes me feel like they're sending Spencer Knight down. And I think it's the best thing for him. It's not a knock on him. But the one complaint I do have with Florida is that I think they played him way too many games to start the season. Like, you have Sergei Bobrovsky making $10 million. He's 12-2 right now. The fact that he's played just as many games basically as Spencer Knight, it shouldn't be like that. Spencer Knight's a backup. He's a rookie. He should be playing 12 games throughout an entire season. I think it just wasn't the right move. And if you are playing him this amount of games, I think it's better suited for the AHL, because he did just come from Boston College and straight to Florida, given their goalie situation at that time. So I wouldn't be shocked within the next couple of days if we hear that Spencer Knight gets sent down to the AHL. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's there for an entire month. I think they can win that division. It's Spencer Knight's hurting more than helping, and Sergei Bobrovsky needs to be playing. Unless he's hurt, he needs to be playing almost every night. So that was my little spiel. I love him. I love Spencer Knight. I don't think the time is now. I think the time is for him to be in the AHL because of that waiver move that really got me thinking that they're definitely contemplating moving him down.
And again, this is not a knock. And sorry to interrupt, Donald, but this is not a knock on Spencer Knight. He's a terrific goaltender. They played him, and he played extremely well. Like, you can't blame the Panthers for being in the situation. And I wouldn't say leaving him out to dry, but giving him even more opportunities to strive, because last season, I think he started 6-0 or something like that. He had a terrific start in his career nonetheless. And even in the playoffs, he had the battle of Tampa Bay Lightning. So you're kind of throwing him right to the wolves very quickly, making him learn very quickly that you can make it in this league. You're a great player, and you know how to get it done. So I wouldn't say they rushed him too much, considering he had so much skill coming in, but you're very in the right opportunity. You're in the right way to send him down and get some conditioning going, because he's still young, and he's proven that he's played in this league. Let's just see if you can make it a little bit more, improve yourself, see if we can get a better tandem going, because personally, and I think you're trying to alliterate to this as well, I mean, this tandem isn't really it. If you're going to be paying a goaltender like Sergei Bobrovsky that much money, you're going to have to play him for that much dollars, because he's a terrific goaltender. The record speaks volumes on his part and on the Florida Panthers part nonetheless. But yeah, I don't think it's Spencer Knight's time right now. You asked me last year and last summer, I think he's one of the better goaltenders that we've seen come up in recent years. But
I just don't think they should be playing him as often as they are. Like, I get that he's a great talent, but that month of November was not good. And it also just looks like the Panthers don't play as confident. Like, if you notice those 3 come from behind victories, those are with Sergei Bobrovsky in net. Mm-hmm. So it's just a little bit telling to me that the Florida Panthers aren't as confident. And also, Spencer Knight gave up stupid goals last night. Like, it was a really bad game, like blunder behind the net, and then just shots that should have been saves.
Yeah, I totally agree. Dom, do you have anything to add, Jared? It's pretty open topic.
I saw what's his name was Anton Khudobin was on waivers, which was interesting. Why they didn't pick
that
him
was
up,
very interesting,
because they would have to take his contract.
Can they not afford it?
It's not that they can't afford it. It's just that it's too large. That the issues with teams wanting to pick him up it's similar to Evander Kane with San Jose. He's just making.
I think there's other issues.
No, but I guarantee
strictly money based.
No, but still, I think a team, like, if you're in the gutter, like what's the point of not like, he could still do stuff for you. It's just the fact that he's making $7 million was the main concern.
Yeah, fair enough.
Did he not cash in? Like, I could be complete lost, but did he cash in right after he made it to the finals and sign a contract? Ooh.
He signed 7 years, $49 million with the Sharks.
Wait, we're talking about 2 different players, bro.
Who are you? I'm sorry, who are you talking about?
Khudobin.
Oh, you're talking about Khudobin.
I was talking about Khudobin as well.
Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry. I thought you were talking about Evander Kane for a second.
No. But I think Khudobin did. because he was like a brick wall with
he
him
was
and like
terrific, man.
Joel Kiviranta. Carried the shit out of that team. He was really good. He was really,
Yeah.
really good. But now
I don't know. That's what I was just thinking about last night and this morning was after the Johansson thing. I'm just wondering what's going on with
Johansson's
Florida.
not that good either, though.
I was gonna say,
But
like,
here's
that's an
my
ugly way to push a goaltender.
No. But here's my thing though, because I was talking about this with my dad this morning as well. Was look, although Johansson isn't as great or even maybe worse than Spencer Knight, like he has NHL experience, like he's still very capable of winning you a game. And if you view him as a little bit better or even a little bit worse than Spencer Knight, then what's the point of like keeping Spencer Knight, who's a lot younger and has a lot more potential?
He's a more valuable chip in your arsenal.
Yeah, definitely. Like he's just too young to be in the NHL right now. And the way Bobrovsky's rolling, the only time you'll play Johansson is on the second night of a back-to-back.
I think it's very fair. It's actually not something I thought about at all. We were talking in our group chat a lot about the Panthers last night, and Evan said he had this like big take. Obviously, it's that, but that isn't even something that crossed my mind. But I think it's a very interesting take because, as you mentioned, something that really flew under the radar was them claiming Jonas Johansson off of waivers. I think you might definitely be onto something there because like why else would they claim another goalie if they don't have plans to send Knight down? I think it's interesting. Again, like I'm a Leafs fan. I mainly watch the Leafs. I haven't caught very many Florida Panthers games, but obviously, looking purely at numbers, Spencer Knight hasn't been good enough. Of course, there's a ton of potential there. Why keep him in a situation where he's struggling, where he's going to ruin his confidence? So I think, if they did, of course, they went out and claimed another goalie. So I think, you're probably on something. That probably is the plan there, to send him down, let him pick it up with they're in Springfield. Yeah,
Springfield Thunderbirds.
Yeah. Okay. So let him gain confidence with them. I think that you're probably on something. They are a good team. I actually do have a little bit of concerns with the Florida Panthers. They're still a great team. They're going to be amazing in the regular season. But we were actually discussing something which I
want to bring that up. I want to bring it up.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Can we? Because I want to fucking grill the shit out of you pissheads.
Okay.
Bring it up.
Like we might as well transfer there. I think Florida's an unbelievable offensive.
Introduce it.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
Posting skills are coming back into play.
I don't know if you were. I don't know if you were like introducing it or just like talking about your.
We're so foreign to Jared's style.
No,
this is like anomaly.
Okay. How we're gonna do this? Okay, so we were talking a lot about the Florida Panthers. There's issues. Obviously, they just lost 8-2 to the Ottawa Senators, which Ottawa is very hot right now. They're finding ways to beat a lot of good teams. They've taken out a lot of strong teams in the past few games. But whatever, there's clearly the way that Florida has played lately, despite them still being near the top of league standings, they're getting wins. The way they're playing, they're having to claw back from a lot of late deficits, which, it's working and they're ending up with a lot of wins. There is definitely some concerns there. And where we're going to go with this is the fact that right now, how the playoff picture is setting up in the Atlantic Division is the Leafs likely may end up having to face one of the Florida Panthers or the Tampa Bay Lightning. So a discussion that we were having in our Leafs Line podcast group chat, our very confidential group chat, is how would the Leafs fare against these guys? And one of my points that I'm bringing up is I'm personally not that scared of the Florida Panthers, actually. I don't think they're a very strong defensive team. And that's coming from a Leafs fan who I know a team that's very good offensively and not good defensively. And that's what Florida kind of screams to me right now. I think a series against the Panthers, it would be very offense heavy, which isn't really something the Leafs have had to fight against. The Leafs series in the past few years, it's been series against Boston, it's been series against Columbus, and series against Montreal, where they're very defensive minded. I think a series against the Florida Panthers is something that, sure, we don't know how it would go. It would be a tough series. I think it would probably go 6 or 7, but I'd actually take Toronto there purely because I think Florida is not a strong team defensively, and they kind of are showing that in the past few games. So, the question, I guess, is what are your guys' thoughts on that? If the Leafs do have to play one of the Panthers or the Lightning, how do you think the Leafs would fare? So we'll go to Evan here. Evan
Jared.
has the
Evan-
take.
Evan's-
This year.
Evan, rip us to shreds.
Rip us to shreds,
Well,
man.
look,
I didn't even
look,
say anything.
yeah, I don't know. Like when you were talking about the Leafs would mop the floor with them. Well, first of all, the Leafs got their shit mopped last. Like I don't think you could like really
So did
say
the Panthers.
Well, no, I'm saying I don't know if you could really say that the Leafs would mop the floor with them because, and I think like I understand.
Go
the
on,
whole
talk about the playoff struggles. Go on.
No, I understand. The Panthers have also faced the Tampa Bay Lightning in the last 2 years in the first round that they made the playoffs. So and they ended up taking it to 6 games, but it was also a very competitive 6 games. It's not like the Florida Panthers were ever like I think they had one game where it was 5-4, but they weren't losing by egregious amounts. They were like 1 or 2 goal games against a team that ended up winning back-to-back cups. So they've had tough matchups. And I know this sounds stupid, but just knowing the Leafs blunders, I have a feeling this is just going somewhere like down south. But the one thing that I want to say, although you're talking about defensively, offensively, Huberdeau and Barkov, they do step up in the playoffs. And Barkov is easily one of the top 3 defensive centers in the NHL. I don't know if you could say Bergeron as 1, Barkov as number 2. I don't know.
Chandler Stevenson.
Boy, Evan.
You're a Vegas fan, Mark Stone.
Well, Mark Stone's a right
center,
winger. He's a right winger. That's why I was thinking.
Yeah, that.
But Barkov is one of the best defensive forwards in the NHL. Jonathan Huberdeau steps up come playoff time. Like these guys know how to play in the playoffs. In the way that Sergei Bobrovsky's playing, I really like Florida's chances. And just knowing the way the Leafs are in the playoffs, I have a feeling it's going to end poorly. Just also given the fact that Marner and Matthews don't step up in the playoffs. Nylander does. Nylander's fucking incredible in the playoffs. Like he wakes up from his pregame nap come playoff time. But I don't know about Matthews and Marner. In that 7-game series last year, Matthews had 1 goal in 7 games. And I don't know how many points Marner had, but I never saw his name on the score sheet. Okay, 4. Thank you. Not a lot. But anyway, I don't know. And when you're talking about defense, I think the one concern, and that we've been talking about this last month, is problems with the Leafs. And they don't have a comfortable 6 either that they could roll out against a team. Like they have so many questions surrounding their second line. And I really like the defensive pairings in Florida. You have Uyghur and Ekblad. You have Radko Gudas there. I mean, like you have some talent there. I'm trying to think of
Gustav Forsling.
Forsling's there, and then who's the other guy?
Lundell's pretty good.
Lundell, yeah. I thought he would. Yeah,
He's
Lundell.
a forward, but yeah, he's good.
No, he's a
Anton Lundell.
He's
Anton
a center
Lundell's
forward.
a center.
I thought he was a. I'm thinking of
Lundell's
the.
center.
Lindell.
Esa Liddell. Lindell.
Okay, I was thinking of maybe the
Yeah.
guy in Dallas.
Dallas. Yeah.
Too all right. Too confusing there, but yeah, I like Florida overall. I think if they do take the Leafs, I think it will be very competitive though. But I think Florida just solely because I know that their top guys are there come playoff time. Although they might lose the games, they're there.
You said Florida knows how to play playoff hockey. What is playoff hockey to you?
Well, look,
to me, it ain't battle of nutrition.
You lost me there.
Well, look, like I understand that they also haven't won a playoff series in a long time. Granted,
In almost
the
a decade more than the Leafs.
Okay, but here's the thing though: the Florida Panthers, for a majority of this last decade and a half, have been in rebuild mode where they have been at the bottom of the league. So it's not like they've really had the opportunities to be in the playoffs. The difference is the Leafs have been in the playoffs. And I knew like Florida for a long time hasn't, like they just haven't been there. But now that Barkov's developed, Huberdeau's developed, drafting Ekblad, signing Bobrovsky, like their time is now. And what I meant by playoff mode is that, look, they've had to go up against Tampa Bay, who has arguably the best offense, best defense, and best overall team. And I remember games, they were down 4-1 to Tampa in Tampa, and they came back and won 5-4 in overtime. There were games where they lost 3-2, but they were just such nail biter games that I feel like if that was any other team that Florida was playing against, it would be them winning 3-2. So I think it's just like unlucky of who they've had to face because they've ended up being the Stanley Cup champion. But I just think if the team was flipped, I think they would come out on top in those games.
I credit the Cats for coming back against the Lightning in almost every game they played. Personally, it was the best hockey I've ever watched, considering of how entertaining.
That's what I'm saying. It's like they have dogs. Like you guys are acting
they
like
do.
They got dogs on that team.
They don't got dogs that guard their house though. They're just going bark at each other and eat each other up. Like,
but
that's
what
I'm saying.
Bijons that like those dogs. No, not. You know,
the Leafs,
I don't think the
if
Leafs
the Panthers go down 4-1
against
if the Panthers go down 4-1 against the Leafs, are you more in faith of the Leafs hanging on or the Panthers coming back?
Wait, if the Panthers go down 4-1,
like in a game?
Oh,
well, I mean, it's happened before, so I would say yes. I mean, it's happened. It happened to them on the road.
What I'm trying to piece together is what have the Leafs learned in playoff series prior compared to what the Panthers have learned in their lonesome series.
But what have the Leafs learned?
Well, they learned some things about shutting down defensively, getting a little bit more physical, which they've shown.
But wouldn't you have learned that? But wouldn't you have learned that against Boston?
We haven't really blown. We blew it like a 3-2, but that's normal. Blowing a 3-1, on the other hand, like you learn from that. But we blew a 3-2 against the team that we weren't favored against. We were the only series where we were the clear favorites was that Montreal series. That's the one you.
But that doesn't matter because they were still up 4-1 in games. Like I'm saying, like they've had.
Yeah, that's a different team. That's a different team.
Oh,
that,
that was 2013.
Okay. I didn't know like how far back you're going. But honestly, it's like I don't know. I would say
fun
yes.
Debate though. It is a fun.
I would say yes because I think the way Sergei Bobrovsky's playing. I also just think like the top to bottom of the Panthers is better than the top to bottom of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And when I mean top to bottom, I specifically mean their bottom six. Like that's what I'm really digging into. I think it is a lot better than the Leafs is. And it's also been a lot more consistent over the season. If you've noticed, like even in those games that they came back, those 3 game stretches, it was a lot of the bottom 6 contributing and kind of Huberdeau and Ekblad manning the way for those guys. They have Sam Reinhart, who I thought was an awesome pickup. Duclair, when he gets healthy again, is another great weapon to have who is not afraid to throw the body around. Sam Bennett is a dog who's not afraid to fight anyone. Like, I think they're very well constructed, and I really like where they're going.
One thing I'm going to say is I think a lot of your argument has to do with the fact that the Leafs ultimately collapsed last year. And I think a lot of your argument is very much, well, the forwards didn't show up in the Montreal series. We don't know. Like, obviously, the Leafs haven't had the chance to prove that wrong. So I understand why you have to bring that up.
I mean, like the playoffs in general. I mean, like the years that Matthews.
I'm not saying you're wrong for bringing that up because, of course, the Leafs haven't had the chance to prove that wrong. So obviously it's not playoff time yet this year, but I'm saying the way that the teams are playing right now this season, if our core guys can continue playing, like I don't think you could go into the series accounting for that Marner and Matthews are going to fall asleep again. Of course, that's what happened last year, but I think you have to kind of wipe the slate a little bit. It's a new season. Right now, the core guys are playing really well, and you have to go into a playoff prediction by saying, okay, we're going to take what's happening right now and put it into a playoff series. Who's doing better? And right now, I really like the way the Leafs are playing. And I do, as a Leafs fan, yes, you could call me biased. I have a lot of faith in the way we're playing. I know we know what can happen come playoff time. In the past, we have had the habit of our star guys kind of getting a bit shut down and going quiet. But you have to think that the way the Leafs are playing right now, I think you have to kind of factor it into a playoff series. And the way that the Leafs are looking right now, I would personally take them above the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, no, like I know I've been rebelling on, but that's like the whole thing that people were thinking about last year too, around November and December, was like if this Leafs team was in a 7-game series, they would win. My whole debate is that, I mean, it sucks. I mean, not sucks, but John Tortorella was there. Not John Tortorella. Joel Quenneville was there. He's a great coach. I think like had this Kyle Beach thing not happened, God forbid, that sucks that it happened. He was still the coach in Florida. My confidence would even be more in Florida's favor, just because ultimately I think it's the coach that wins you the series.
That's a fair point.
And I just think, and I'm not only basing it off the Montreal series, I'm just saying in general. And I'm also basing it off the Edmonton Oilers, who have a core 5, you want to say, with Barry, Nurse, Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, and Draisaitl, and they got shut down last year. And it's not like Winnipeg's defense was anything to really like gloss at. Like it was just the fact that they like McDavid and Draisaitl can only do so much. Now it's Nylander who can only do so much. I mean, he had 5 goals in 7 games. Like, but if no one else is doing anything, I've just seen more consistency with Florida over these last years that they've been in the playoffs than Toronto.
And like obviously, like I can't argue against that because of course that's what we've seen. I'm just saying it's not entirely fair to like it's a new season. Obviously, we are at the playoffs yet. We still have a few months to go. I think the way that the Leafs have played, I've seen signs that it looks like they've grown and learned from the things. We don't know. We aren't going to know until April. But at this current date, if you were to ask me if the Leafs look like a team that is playing playoff hockey, yes, in the past few weeks, it has gotten a little bit more questionable. I think we are falling into a few old habits. But as a season overall, I personally really like the way the Leafs are playing. And I think the main factor is the fact that Florida is a lot less of a shutdown team than a team like Columbus or Montreal. So for that reason, I personally, we don't know. It's all speculation. I would take the Leafs in that series. I think it would
How
be
many
very
games would
interesting.
you take it?
I think it still would go 6 or 7, probably game 7, to be honest. Like they are a good team, but I think the main factor is that it would be a lot more of a high flying offensive series, which isn't something we've ever seen out of the Leafs. The Leafs in our recent like core, like we've played Boston twice, which yes, they have their line, but overall, I still think they're a more like they're gonna hit you, they're gonna wear you down. Like they are, I'd call them a shutdown team.
Boston
Columbus is purely a shutdown team. Like they don't have offensive stars.
I don't think it was. I think it was more John Tortorella. That's why I'm saying coaches win you the
Goaltenders?
series.
Stood on their
we
head.
got goal lead, but like no, I think Columbus plays a shutdown style. I think Boston plays a shutdown style, and I think Montreal plays a shutdown style. If we're playing the Florida Panthers, that's a matchup against a type of team that we've never seen before. And for that reason, I personally, we don't know this, it's all speculation. I have reason to believe that I think the Leafs would be able to thrive in a series like that. That's something we've never seen before. So there's no evidence that we'd collapse against a matchup such as that. Sure, they have defensive-minded forwards. Like Barkov is a guy who would have to fight and try to shut down our superstars. I just think they're a lot less of a shutdown team than the teams we've had to face. And for that reason, I guess, a lot more high on the Toronto Maple Leafs. It would be a good series. I'm not ripping on Florida, but I think there are a few holes in their game that personally, yes, you call me biased. As a Leafs fan, I think the Leafs would find a way to succeed in that situation.
Last thing, I would compare Florida to like Washington, like when they played the Capitals back in what was
We're
that?
a rookie team, though.
No, that's what I was saying. Like I would compare that team to Florida, but the core wasn't the core at that time. But
and I'm gonna say, if you want to bring that up, that they are a lot similar to Washington. Our best playoff series, I'd argue, is when we were all rookies. Like the series that, yes, it only went to 6 as opposed to 7, but we were amazing in that series. We were just a young team that ultimately got beat out by the President's Trophy winners. If we had today's team against like that Washington Capitals, I think that was a series where we looked like a great team. Like Matthews played great in that series. So
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like that, I think that's the best comparison, like in terms of what those guys have experienced.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I actually didn't think of that. And for that reason, I mean, if you look at how a young rookie Leafs team did against a team like that isn't as much of a shutdown style, I personally, we don't know. I happen to believe that the Leafs would be able to do well in that series. Like I'm not going to say, yeah, they dominate that series, they mop the floor with them, whatever. No, it would still be a series. Florida's not a slouch of a team; they're a great team. I'd have confidence in my Toronto Maple Leafs. And I know I like to say that all the time, but there's question marks when we face a shutdown team. I don't think there's that many question marks when we face a pure offensive team where the goal of the series is just outscore them. There's not as much of a concern of these guys constantly wearing us down and hitting us by their style of play. And I think that happens to do with coaching. It happens to do with a lot of different factors. Overall, the question mark is just, would the Leafs stars be able to show up? If they do, I think in an offensive-minded series, I happen to believe an offensive-minded team like the Toronto Maple Leafs would be able to pull through. We don't know, but that's kind of my argument there.
Listen, this is what I'm going to do. We've been talking about the Florida Panthers Leafs series, hypothetical, and probably one of the best matchups I want to see in a playoff.
That's gonna be so
bracket.
exciting.
It will be a great, exciting series.
I hope that happens. Honestly, I just want to like.
I do as well. But what I want to do right now is I want to put a pin in it because we've been spending we're running a bit short on time. I want to get to 2 segments here. One of them is the novel of the show, and I want to see how this goes. I think it's going to go extremely well, but I want to see how this goes. So I want to put a pin in this conversation. I want to regroup next week, and I want to discuss this. Well, I think Adamo's got a bit more opinions to say for himself. Evan, I think this is just a great conversation to have. I'm glad we brought it up yesterday. The group chat did not do justice considering we could not translate our words said in there to this performance we're putting on, and of course some words in there cannot be said on air, so let's keep it at that. But I mean, I want to really, Jared, man, you've been partial host, my co-host. I think I'll credit you with that today. I want you to take the segue away and go right into your segment, because even giving a name to it, I had the Jared Jumbo written on my outline, couldn't think of anything, but man, this is your segment, this is your title. What do you want it called, and how's it going to go?
Well, the name that I gave my Google document that I kind of have my tweets all uploaded in is Jared's Twitter Takeover. So that's the segment name. We got some alliteration in there. That's what we're calling it. Yeah. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we got a little drum roll. This is Jared's Twitter Takeover. So basically, the main gist of this is I scoured through Twitter and found some big tweets that I think really encapsulate some of the biggest storylines that are going on in the league right now. A lot of them we did end up covering in this episode, so I'm still going to bring them up. It's just our answers will be a bit shorter because it's like, okay, we already discussed that topic. A lot of it has to do with obviously the COVID situations, questions of the Olympics, things along those lines. But whatever, it's basically I just went through Twitter and found some tweets that I think really could spark a conversation, get some interesting feedback from you guys. So without further ado, I'm gonna pull up. I have 5 tweets here, and I really just want to read them out to you guys. I'm gonna read who said them, and I just want to hear you guys' feedback. Again, a lot of them do have to do with things we've already talked about. So in that case, I'm still gonna read them out because I pulled them up. Why not read them out? But just say, okay, we already kind of talked about that in depth, so it's not worth going too in depth on. Without further ado, Jared's Twitter Takeover. So the first tweet that I've brought to the table is from Dom at The Athletic. The Twitter at is Dom Lucian. I don't really know how to pronounce the last name. Whatever. Dom Lucian. There we go. Okay. So the tweet is, NHL has to just shut things down at this point. This is getting absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, we talked a lot about that. We talked about the COVID things, what the question marks are surrounding a shutdown. Is that something that's realistically going to happen? I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that. So we're going to start with Adamo on this one.
Yeah. Shut down. That's a little harsh. Restrict things a lot. Like, I mean, I'm talking last season, minus the stupid North Division. I say no fans. I say mandate every player double vax, fucking triple vax if you can. Which in Ontario, 18 plus can get their vaccines in like next week. So
yeah, I got mine set up.
Oh, really? Nice. My dad just got his. Yeah, I don't think shut it all down. That's a little much, but restrict the fuck out of it.
I'm gonna say that on Twitter the comments did happen to be very negative, with a lot of people kind of sharing the same thing with, yes, restrictions need to be made. However, a lot of people were not in favor of shutdown, so that's kind of why I just wanted to bring it up. Of course, it's something we ended up going not even more in depth than I expected. I knew we were going to talk about it, but I still just thought it was a very interesting tweet that kind of encapsulated a lot of the storylines surrounding this week. So that's why I thought it was kind of an important question to ask. So I guess we're going to turn it over to Evan. Like, obviously, we did kind of touch on it.
I'll be quick. Look, I think the restrictions are warranted. I just think, like, it sounds terrible because these are human beings. Sports is a part of life right now, and I think that's the best thing that's going for us, is just being able to like sit down for a couple hours and just have your mind focused on something completely different. And I understand the players are also like, they're human beings. They have their own values and the restrictions suck. But from like a fan standpoint, I'm thinking of like, sports is the best thing that we got for us right now. If it means no fans, like, I really don't care. Like, I just want to get my mind off something for a few hours.
Oh, I do absolutely agree with that. Like, NHL, not even just NHL, sports in general are such a way to get kind of normalcy back into life, So it would be absolutely horrible if they shut down. That's why it's really tough. But at the end of the day, I mean, you have to kind of consider the human lives that are at risk right now. And as much as, yes, it's not proving to be incredibly deadly because a lot of people are vaccinated, it's still very much a disease that's spreading around like wildfire right now, an infection. And there's definitely some question marks. In my mind, I don't think it's something that you shut it down now. It was that tweet was very reactionary to a bunch of teams at the moment had just been announced with COVID cases. So that's why it's a very scary time. I don't think a shutdown right now is the best move, but it's definitely something that needs to be kind of in the back of people's heads in my mind, because it's getting really bad. And Mario, we're obviously going to turn it over to you, the main host of this show.
Yeah, this is unknown waters. I usually ask the questions. I'm on the other side of it, but I will for sure answer this one. I don't know. Me, I want to try to put my hockey brain aside and like my fan perspective of it. I think it's best to rip the Band-Aid off as fast as you can. And I get all the reasons you guys are saying. I think they're perfectly logical. I think I just have to bring this side to it because I can't see 2-3 more teams getting back into a Vancouver situation that we saw last year. I know I already said this back in our other segment when we were discussing it, but I don't want to see that again. I don't want to see more teams like the Carolina Hurricanes. And I believe the other team that got shut down was why am I drawing a blank? It was Carolina and
Nashville had concerns, but like
Calgary.
Yeah.
There we go. So like Carolina and Calgary, I don't want to see any more situations like this happening where games are getting disrupted very all around. So I think it's best to maybe in the next week or so see how bad this gets. If it gets to a stage where it's really struggling and you're seeing these cases double within the National Hockey League, I think you got to cut it off, figure out the Olympic situation and as fast as you can, and then try to use that break room. I know it's a really tough situation to put the NHL in. I don't think they were expecting this, but if you want to get a creative mind going, I think this one might be the best bet. Use the time in the winter break, the Olympic break, to regroup these games. I think that might be the best area for them to go.
And very well said there. My one concern with if you shut it down now, when does games start renewing? Because if you remember back to March 2020, we thought it was going to be only a few weeks shutdown, and we didn't end up getting back playing hockey until August. So
that's different time, like different
obviously,
scenario.
But I'm just saying that's
principles still do apply.
Example. It's your guys' opinion. I brought it up because I wanted to hear what you guys had to say. It's a very valid point from all of you. It's just very much something I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on because it's an interesting time right now. The next tweet actually is that Connor McDavid tweet saying, like, I'll read it out, but I don't think we're going to go too in depth because it's very much having to do.
You can just read it out and then just like go.
So the tweet, it's from Joshua Clipperton. It's Connor McDavid tells media in Edmonton the idea of a potential quarantine of 3 to 5 weeks because of a positive COVID-19 test at the Beijing Olympics is quote unquote unsettling. He won't say today if he's out, but if that's the case, or if he's out, if that's the case, #Oilers. So obviously we went very much in depth on that in our Olympic segment. So we won't get too in depth there, but I just very much wanted to read that out in case it wasn't something that was brought out on the podcast, because I think it's really important to kind of what's going on now. And this one is kind of getting away from the COVID stuff. This is more of an interesting one. I actually am really curious what Evan's thoughts are on this one are going to be, because it has to do with an LA King. So this one's from Kyle. The Twitter @ is KF_Kadri43. So it's from a Leafs fan. If the Leafs want to add a forward, the answer is Adrian Kempe from the LA Kings. The reasons being, he played with William Nylander in Modo, Sweden from 2013 to 2015, and at the World Junior Championship for Sweden. He'd be an ideal left wing, and that would be on a line with Kempe, Nylander, and John Tavares centering it. He currently has a $2 million contract. However, at the end of the 2023 season, he is an RFA. He's on pace for 35 goals. He would be third in hits among forwards in Toronto. So he plays a lot more of a defensive kind of a shutdown style.
I'll let you stop right there. Take him. I'll let you stop there. Like, I really don't care about his stats. Like, I don't know if I should be saying it, but like nobody in LA likes Adrian Kempe. Like it was so evident. Did you remember when Connor McDavid hit Kempe from behind?
Yeah.
Did you see one Kings player go after Connor McDavid? Like, I don't give a shit if it's Connor McDavid. Did you see any Kings player do anything? Like, out of the four other guys that were on these.
All I saw was Kempe go score a goal the other way.
No, but what I'm saying is, the point I'm trying to make is like, they don't like, nobody went over to even like say anything to McDavid. Like, if that's not telling, like if the Leafs want him, then fine. Like I don't see the Kings re-signing him. He doesn't seem happy in LA. Every time he scores, he looks like he just got scored on. Like, if whatever value we could get for him, like I really don't care. Whatever value you could get for Kempe, I'm totally fine with that.
Really? So I didn't think you would be that negative. I actually saw that tweet and I thought that's an interesting player.
No, because the Kings don't. Nobody in LA respects him. Like if they did, they would have fought McDavid. Who the fuck cares that it's Connor McDavid? Like he hit him from behind and drew blood. Like you would fight for him.
Okay, yeah, very interesting. I didn't expect that was the reaction you'd get, but I'm curious to see what you guys say. I don't know. When I saw that, I thought that's a very that's the kind
Just go
of
on to
player
the next tweet. Go on to
that's the kind of player we'd like to see in Toronto. I don't know. I thought it was a good idea.
Well, I hope someone steps up for him in Toronto.
Briefly, let's hear what Mario and Adamo have to say. The Leafs fans on the podcast. I'm curious.
You take it, Ramoli.
Oh, I'm just looking at his contract right now. I'm trying to pull it up. What's it like? Oh man, he's got 1 year after this. It'd be a rental.
Well, he'd be a year and a half. Like if you got him.
No, just a year. Just a year. This is the last year of his contract.
Oh yeah. So then take him.
Yeah.
Por favor.
Depends the price, because it'd be nice. It'd obviously be nice to have him, but like, am I giving up a prospect, like a good one? I'm not giving Topi. I'm not giving Nick Robertson. I'm not giving any of the good prospects.
I would say a third and a mid-level, like a mid prospect, like a third round pick in a mid.
I think I might need a little more than that.
Is that where a Justin Hall trade potentially pops up?
Why would LA do it?
Well, we were saying LA.
Yeah, but I wasn't saying Adrian Kent. Like he's not just a rag doll,
guys. Like we value Justin Hall so much. I think he has negative value at this point. Like I don't care. He's
definitely
right-handed.
not 1-for-1, but you add some picks there. You add whatever you.
I think you'd have to add the sweetener to take Justin Hall, because he is a negative asset at this point. He is a AHL player making $2 million and just happens to shoot right-handed. So I doubt that. But Adrian Kempe, going back to that, is an interesting topic. I like it. I like the reasons he said. Fuck it. Why not? Why not? If it's at a reasonable price, why not?
Does Kerfoot, sorry to interrupt, Jared, but does Kerfoot play a role in something happening here? Because you were saying he would slot probably under that second line. And I know Kerfoot's been in trade talks before. I would
gladly take Kerfoot.
Is something like Kempe. That brewing? Is a Kerfoot for Kempe 1-for-1 maybe something that's in the works?
I think like Kerfoot in a third. I would definitely take that.
Do you want to break up something that's decently working on the second line? I don't know.
Kerfoot's been really good for us, so I don't know if that's the move I'd make. Also, I think I'd sooner, because we actually have a lack of left wings. I think that is one position on our team that we are a little bit lacking. So I'd sooner I don't know if Kerfoot's the guy to flip there.
I got the answer. I have the answer. The guy that requested a trade, Ilya Mikheyev.
That's interesting.
Now we're brewing.
Not 1-for-1, but
I'm thinking of the lineup. It's Bunting, Matthews, Marner. Sure. Kempe, Tavares, Nylander. Sure. Kerfoot, Kampf, Kasha. Sure. Spezza, Simmons are a lock, and then you have Richie and
I like
his name, Mikheyev.
I like this.
Are you gonna healthy scratch Richie or Mikheyev? It's got to be one of those two.
Look, I like Ilya Mikheyev, but I don't know.
I'd move. Honestly, I'd move Nick Richie. I'm enough of this. I'm gonna be honest, guys. He's not worth it. He's not worth the money, and he's not going to be worth the money because his skill has never been worth the money. You never pay money for grit, and he's not even giving grit. We're paying him 2.5 because he has a big ass.
He's a thick boy.
Seriously, we're paying him 2.5 to screen the goalie.
Thick bitch.
That's not ideal. So I'd say move one of those two, and like a Mikko Kaukonen and like a second. Sure, do it.
I saw going back to the Mikheyev one very quickly. If you're gonna maybe flip Mikheyev 1-for-1, and this is pretty hypothetical, but you flip him 1-for-1 for Kempe. Is Mikheyev, where is he playing right now? And are you going to put him on that top line? Are you going to put him on the second line? Because right now he's sitting on the third and fourth. I think he played on the 4th last night, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not too sure. But what's Mikheyev's role now? Like, what do you want him to be? Are you going to make him into a defensive forward, leaving him in that bottom 6? Or do you want him to get back to that goal-scoring touch that he once had and boost him to the top 6? So I think it's up to what you want to do with Mikheyev, because I think if you make that decision pretty quickly, I think you're open to making these kind of trades. And I wouldn't mind a Mikheyev for a Kempe 1-for-1. And you went through the lineup yourself, Adam, and I thought it sounded really pretty lethal, to be quite frank with you.
I think Mikheyev probably ends up back as like a third liner, because why would you have, if you have Kempe, or sorry, we're talking no Kempe, we're talking no Kempe, right? So
if you want
Bunting, Matthews, Marner, Kerfoot, Tavares, Nylander, who do you move? Do you move Kerfoot out, who's played really well there and is objectively a better player offensively than Mikheyev? I don't know where else you put him. I think either you unfortunately have to trade Ilya Mikheyev, or you're a defensive specialist now. And I think that'd work great. Oh, fuck. We also forgot about Pierre Engvall. He's probably on the road to LA too, if that trade ever happens. But the third line probably looks like Mikheyev, Kampf, Kasha, and that is lethal defensively, because you have the two big boys in Kampf and Ilya, who are super fast, and then Kasha just seems to have a knack playing with Camp. It's great. He's super creative as well, charges the net, plays hard. I think that line would actually have some pretty good chemistry.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of different ways that you could go about a trade like that. I don't know. I didn't necessarily bring it up with a specific, this is the move that I'd have in mind. I thought it was an interesting topic. It wasn't exactly a name that was on my radar for potential things that we could do. So when I saw that tweet kind of come through my feed, I'm like, you know what, this is maybe something that I'll bring up. Like, it's not something, it's purely a hypothetical. It's not something that we have any serious plan or whatever surrounding. But I thought, I don't know, I was curious to see what your guys' thoughts on that would be. Now onto our 4th tweet. Again, there's on this one, there's a bit less really to go in depth. It's just kind of a player that maybe has faced some criticism because of a big contract, and it's kind of defending them a little bit. And it's not the player you think. So this tweet comes from Let's Talk Hockey. The @ is Let's Talk Hockey 9. And the tweet is, John Tavares is on pace to score 38 goals and 90 points. Oh, but please tell me more about how he's regressing and not worth the 11 million. So what are your guys' thoughts on that one? We'll start with the demo.
Yeah, I was thinking about this last night, actually. Like, he's proving to still actually be worth it. Like, if John Tavares hits the open market right now, on the amount of points that he's playing, how he's playing right now, he probably doesn't get the 8 years or 7 years like he got, but I think he gets the 11 AAV, especially with the salary going up like that. The cap's going up to what, 82.5, I think it's 81 right now, or I know it's going up a mil. So I think, yeah, he probably gets 11, probably not with the term, but 11, 100%, I'd give it to him.
Mario, let's hear from you.
I don't really got to say on, like, I like Tavares, man. I've never had a problem with his contract, really. He's been producing quite nicely this year. That's all I really have to say. Nothing wrong with him. He's doing what he has to do. And I would personally, I'd keep money out of it.
Evan, let's hear from you, and then I'll kind of give my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm gonna I don't know, 11 million is way too much for John Tavares, and that's just because when you look at the value, like when you look at the tiers of how much guys are getting paid, like John Tavares is nowhere near Connor McDavid's level, and he's making 12 million.
That's a bad comparison.
No, but I'm saying in terms of contract, I'm talking.
That's a bad comparison, because Connor McDavid signed his contract before, and Connor McDavid has the best contract in the league right now. If Connor McDavid hits the open market with his production, he gets 15 easily.
Well, I don't think they can go. I think there's a cap on how much you can give.
He's worth that amount, is what it is.
I know, but there's just a cap on like how much you can give a player. Like,
is there?
I believe so. Like, you can't.
We never had that high.
Well, I don't know. Like, I think if they wanted to, they probably could have. But I'm pretty sure like the cap you could give him is like 12 million a year, and that's. But anyway, like regardless of when the contract was signed, I just think I think 11 million is too much. And I'm not saying go down egregiously, but I think it would be around 9.5, because that's still great money. And he's still a great player. Like, it's no disrespect, but look, there's not many guys that are making double digits, like $10 million. And there's a reason. Like, making 9.5 or even 9.75 is not a knock on the guy, but that money then allows you to sign someone else. And when you're trying to think as a leader like John Tavares is, don't you want to like value the idea of winning and grabbing other players rather than like, oh, I want my money and then you go figure it out yourself? Like, I just think 9.5 would be fair if he hit the open market.
Yeah, and obviously
He's
there's a
12th in scoring, by the way, in the NHL.
Well, yeah, but so are guys like Mikko Rantanen and Adam Fox and Cale Makar, and they're making $9 million.
Fair. So are guys like Connor McDavid, Alex Ovechkin,
but you
Austin
just said that
Matthews, Artemi Panarin.
But Panarin, those guys aren't making. But that's different though. Those. But what I'm saying is like those are just like one player. When you're the Leafs and you're paying 4 different guys that type of money or 3 different guys that type of money, it's different. You're obviously going to pay your star the most, but you can't pay 3 separate. Like you can't pay 3 guys like the same.
I agree with you, and I think that guy that's being overpaid right now is Mitch Marner, and I've been pretty vocal about that. I'd rather have 2 William Nylanders than 1 Mitch Marner, and I think everyone agrees. 2 extra William Nylanders, I should say, not just 2. At this point I probably would, but I think
there's been that
I agree with you. I agree with you in the sense that you probably shouldn't be paying these guys, and I think John Tavares is the guy you pay because that is your captain, because he is still 12th in NHL scoring, and he also took a discount, so he's a nice guy. He left. He was making 30. He could have made 13 in San Jose. So
that's true.
Thank God.
That's a dumpster fire. They don't know how to handle contracts over there.
They don't know how to handle anything.
It's like candy. Nice. Let's do get the final one on the queue, Jerry.
Yeah. Well, overall, just a little bit of a segue there. Just what I want to say. I kind of agree in the sense that yes, he's expensive, and yes, there's concerns with the overall contract construction that is on the Leafs, because of course we're paying a lot of forwards a lot of freaking money. But no, John Tavares, the way he's playing right now, the fact that even aside from his point scoring, he's such a big leader on this team. He hasn't gone far on the playoffs, but he's been in the league for a bunch of years. He's played in the league a bunch of years. He kind of knows how to convey himself in a respectable way. He is such an important player to have on a team that is with a lot of young players. And yes, now at this point, they're kind of aging closer to 25, but he came here when a lot of these guys were in their early 20s. And I think having a guy like John Tavares is such an important thing for a team that's kind of building together as a new core and as young players. I don't know. I heard on Twitter a lot of flack when John Tavares kind of wasn't contributing because he is an expensive player. He is an older player in the league. But no, I love John Tavares. I don't think he deserves the flack. And I think this tweet kind of put it perfectly. He is more than playing up to what his contract is right now. And aside from those points, the fact that he is our leader, the fact that he is our captain, I think he more than earns his $11 million. And as Adamo mentioned, he could have gotten more. He did take a pay cut to be here. So no, I love John Tavares, and I just kind of wanted to bring that up because I thought that was a very interesting one. Now on to our final tweets. This one's actually kind of a 2-parter, so I'm going to read out both parts of it, and then I'm going to hear what you guys have to say. So it is about last night's game. It's a little bit irrelevant now that the game's over. Of course, it has to do with Brad Meyer. I'm going to tell you guys that, and it's the fact that a lot of the story heading into the game was, why are we talking about a ref? Well, the fact that we're talking about a ref is pretty concerning. So pretty much just about that. There didn't end up being any major issues throughout the game. So it's not much worth discussing, but I'm still going to read it out just because before the game, heading into the game, when I found this tweet, I thought it was a very interesting thing to bring up just because it's pretty concerning how reffing in the NHL is going. So we're going to start it off with Alex. This one's from Alex Hobson. The @ is A Hobson Media. So the initial tweet is, I regret to inform you that Brad Meyer will be officiating tonight's game against the Leafs and Oilers. Then Data Man, or Life of a D-Man, responds to that. This is the stupidest thing about the NHL and the MLB for that matter. As a fan, I should be more worried about opposing players than the fucking officials. I should have no reason to know a referee's name. The fact that we all do shows that the NHL is a very big issue here. Then a response to that I thought was interesting as well from Matt Sundin, or Matzo Healy or Hanley, is In a game that will feature Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, Leon Draisaitl, William Nylander, etc., we're talking about a fucking ref. Damn right there's a problem, especially if one of these guys get hurt tonight as a result of the game getting out of control. So, of course, nothing really ended up happening in the game that was too worth noting on the reffing department. So, again, it's not worth going into a full analysis on it. But I just wanted to hear you guys' thoughts on that. The fact that we had that game against the Jets not too long ago where a game got completely out of hand. And just the fact that there's a lot of concerns surrounding reffing in the NHL. So, I guess we'll start with Mario on this one. I just want to hear briefly what your guys' thoughts are on the talk about that.
I mean, he's not wrong. I think every comment that was said is accurate. Why do you have to worry about the refs when there's a full storyline that you can dive into and make so much noise with as a media writer, as a radio host, et cetera? Why do you have to be talking about Brad Meyer in these situations? And you brought in baseball as well. I've played baseball enough to know you don't want to know. We know when we go to the ballpark and Damo, and this is unfortunate for you, you're an umpire yourself, so we know who is umpiring the game when we see them approach the game, and we know what we're getting into.
Dude,
and it's the wrong thing.
I hated that.
Yeah, it's the wrong mentality to have. It kind of throws you off a bit, and you're going to change. Ironically enough, you're going to change your game a little bit, and it's really unfortunate. So I think those comments are perfectly valid, perfectly accurate, and it's just a shame. I think the NHL, we were discussing this. Jared, you actually went extensively in length about this a couple weeks ago about the reffing and the officiating in the NHL and quite frankly other sports in general. And I think it has to be changed. Is that with game reports, press conferences after? We don't know. We have to see what the NHL wants to impose, but definitely all correct comments there. And I gave it the green light as well. There has to be a change. And it is a shame that we have to know who the referee is and their name when there's a perfectly good storyline to write about and discuss.
I mean, it's like Angel Hernandez in the MLB.
Yeah, that's
exactly like Angel Hernandez, where like pitchers know and batters know and runners know that he doesn't know. Like he has one of the worst like accuracies. Like if for all those stats guys, like if you look at the amount of strikes that he calls that should be balls, I think it was like 25% in a playoff game. And then he used some like bullshit that, like the MLB's racist, so then they had to bring him back. And it's not the fact that the MLB's racist, it's the fact that you suck at your job. And it's so evident. Like, don't give me that bull crap that like there's discrimination against you. Like you're just not good.
Sucks.
Yeah, there's no discrimination. Like, I guarantee you no one would back him up saying that, like, oh, the MLB is like, nobody's going to believe that. And it's the same thing, obviously, with Brad Meyer, but he's white. But it's the same thing where, like, although I don't, like, look, I understand, I don't want to, like, get into it, but I don't feel like the game was as much his fault as it was just the fact that a young player on the Leafs was hurt. You have Wayne Simmons on the team. Like, shit's gonna go down, and I think it was just hard for Brad Meyer to contain that game. And there's only one of him, and there's 10 of the 10 skaters that he's competing with that absolutely want to kill each other. So I do give him, it was a little bit hard to control what was going on.
I do agree with you, Evan.
Yeah, like I agree to an extent, but at the same time, you have to consider that this referee has a reputation, and this isn't the first time games have gotten out of hand under his control. And as much as like we talked in length about this when the situation was more relevant, again, it was more, I included it in my list because it's like, what if something happens again? Then it'll be a lot more of a talking point. Of course, nothing really major ended up happening.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, just overall, like I wanted to bring it up because if something happened again, like this guy has a reputation and he's a referee that kind of has been known for not doing enough to put games under his control. He's let games got out of hand. And as a result, a lot of issues have happened with him at the helm and reffing. So it's just something that kind of has become a bad habit in the league. And I just think the fact that Brad Meyer's name was a talking point before the game shows a lot of problem with the National Hockey League. Like that is concerning that heading into a game with all these superstar players, we're talking about a referee. And that is concerning. I'd like to see that change. I'd like to see the NHL kind of hold the referees a little bit more accountable. Obviously, that's out of our controls. We're just kind of reporting on things. We're not actually able to control anything. I hope the league kind of recognizes that there's issues with the reffing. But until then, that's all still to be seen. We don't know what's going to happen there. But with that being said, those are the tweets that I brought to the table. I thank you for taking part in Jared's Twitter takeover, the debut of Jared's Twitter takeover, and I think it went very well. I'm very happy with that. And let's let Mario continue on with the show.
Yeah, so Jared, that was a great segment. I think we're going to do a lot more. I love the discussion that we were having. And yeah, this is going to be a regular thing, fans, on the Lease Line podcast. So stay tuned. I think Jared's going to bring the best content available week to week for this segment. And I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is this segment was terrific, and we will be continuing to do it in the weeks to come. The bad news is, however, we do not have a lot of time to work with, and therefore the trivia segment is going to have to kick the can a little bit. I don't know. If you guys want to rush through
guys,
it, I don't know. We're on 2.5.
You're on
right?
2 hours and 20 minutes. Yeah. We cannot.
Did we hear it after the Zoom's recording?
I will save the questions for next week. How about we?
Sure, for next week.
We got it. Don't worry, we got time. And Evan, I wouldn't want to do it if I were you. Those standings are looking a little shaky right now. So
I came back. I'm only down by 1.
A little bit. We'll see next week, I guess. We'll have to push.
I got 2 of the 3 correct last week.
You did. I'll give you credit there. But yeah, unfortunately, we're going to have to cancel the trivia segment for this week. But again, we got a great segment that came before it, and Jared's one is here to stay. The Jared Twitter takeover. If I got to get used to saying that bad boy. That is going to be one of the future. But again, you can expect to see future episodes from us. That concludes episode 12, season 2 of the Leafs Line podcast. I appreciate you guys all for sticking this far along the show. It was a terrific one. A lot of good conversations we had. And yeah, Jared, man, your hosting was terrific. I appreciate you not just coming on, but given the nice hosting. You're not that bad, kid. Not that bad. But yeah, that does it for season 2, episode 12 of the Leafs Line podcast. From me, I am Mary Russo, my co-host here now, Jared Rotenberg. I am saying the last name right after. I found out this weekend I said it wrong about 1 million times, so I apologize for that. But yeah, here with Jared Rotenberg, my co-host, Evan Davis is always tuning in, and Adamo Romoli. We're going to sign it off here. So thank you guys all for tuning in for this episode. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you on next week's Leafs Line. So see y'all.